Have you ever felt that random shift in energy from a guy? It's like one day he was all in, and then one random day he doesn't seem to care about you anymore. Quite strange. Not only is it frustrating, but it's also confusing because what are you supposed to do now? And would you believe me if I told you this is the exact moment where a lot of women do the opposite of what actually works? Which is exactly why on today's show, we're going to be discussing 10 of the biggest mistakes women make when a man pulls away from them. That way, when this happens to you, you know exactly how to respond in a way that'll have him regretting ever backing off from you. We're going to discuss the personal side of things. Now, what I mean by personal, I'm referring to when you first feel a guy pulling away from you. One of the easiest feelings to have within yourself is, oh my gosh, this is about me. Something I said, something I did, I didn't hold my fork the right way, I ate my food too fast, I didn't wear the right pair of jeans, he doesn't like the way I look, right? And you start to kind of project whatever it is he's doing or the lack of interest he's showing you back onto yourself and something that must be wrong with you. The reason that this is the wrong way to go about it is because you're neglecting, especially when you start dating someone, the reality of dating another individual with their own life. See, the reality of it is, even though you're thinking, okay, I meet this guy, I'm dating him, and if he pulls away, it must be about me. He has so many other things going on in his life, like his family, his friends, his hobbies, basketball, watching basketball games. Maybe his favorite basketball team is not doing well right now. Maybe video games, work, whatever the case may be, right? There's all of these different things going on in a guy's life, any guy's life that you're going to meet. The really important part of this point is that you have to keep perspective in understanding a guy might not necessarily be pulling away because of something you did or didn't do. And it might just have to do with the things that are already going on and transpiring in his life since before you were in his life that might have changed or adjusted or gotten really bad while you guys were talking and while you guys were in your dating stage. The reason this is so important to understand is because we don't want you overreacting and thinking, well, I'll put a thought bubble here, right? We don't want you thinking this, right? What's wrong with me? What did I do wrong? How can I fix this? And we'll talk about this in our upcoming points as well, because this will lead to a gigantic spiral of emotion and actions that are completely wrong because you start off with this thought process of, oh, he's pulling away from me. I must have done something wrong. I need to now start taking action in order for me to fix this situation, right? Allow yourself to say, you know what? I don't even yet know why he's pulled away from me. So even though I might recognize the fact that his energy seems to be pulling away from me, I'm going to accept it for now. And with time, I will be revealed more information, whether it be why he might be pulling away, what the purpose of this is, what's actually going on. The truth will be revealed eventually. And sometimes, as much as your anxiety will want to get answers right in the moment, you have to allow yourself the space to say, I don't know everything yet. I don't have all the information. I don't even know everything that's going on in his life. And let me even add something here as well that some of you don't think about because you don't want to have this reality, living in your mind, right? It could be, even in some cases, an ex that has come back into his life that has led to him pulling away, okay? And these are all the type of things that you have to understand could be transpiring. I'm not saying this to give you more anxiety, but I'm saying this to help you realize all of these things have nothing to do with you, okay? And there was nothing you could have done, no way you could have dressed, no way you could have talked or walked that would have changed that outcome of him pulling away if it has to do with his already existing life outside of you, okay? Let's hop into point number 2. Are we all on the same page so far? You getting what I'm putting down, chat? You getting what I'm putting down? I hope you're getting what I'm putting down. Point number 2 here. It's not personal to you. This is where the spiral starts, okay? So we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of the spiral. Okay, someone said you're actually on time. You guys are very early. Me, I'm late. I can't even. Before it used to be me early, you guys late. Now it's you guys early, me late. Very turn of events here. Okay, so for point number 2, we're gonna talk about this. All right. We'll look at this. I'm going to describe what I'm drawing here. And we'll put you on this end. We'll split it down the middle. And we'll put the man here. And you'll see why I'm doing this like this. And we'll call this, do this like that. We'll call this the effort bar. Okay? So, for point number 2, we're going to discuss action. Because remember how I talked about having the mindset that this is personal to me and something must be wrong with me, which is why he's pulling away from me, is such a bad way to go about this. This is why. Because this is where the spiral starts of all the wrong mistakes, literally the exact opposite of all the things I want you to be doing because of that singular thought process, okay? So the reason I drew this out here, I'm gonna call this an effort bar, okay? So this bar is meant to represent when you're in a relationship, who's putting in a lot of the effort to progress this relationship forward, okay? Now, in the beginning of a relationship, a healthy one, okay, what should be happening, I hope this is happening for you in your relationships, is the man should be doing a lot of the leading here, okay? And putting in most of the effort, okay? So this, right, should all be man effort, okay? The reason for that is not because you're meant to be lazy. It's because in the scenario in which he's approaching you and saying, hey, I think you're beautiful, I think you're amazing, I would love to get to know you, it's really his responsibility to stay consistent, to be doing the reaching out, to be doing the planning of the dates because he wants you and he wants to get to know you, right? His intention and desire for you is pushing him and motivating him to take action to progress the relationship. There's nothing unnatural about that, okay? But here's the thing about the effort bar. When you get into a situation where the guy starts pulling away from you and then you start thinking in your mind, something must be wrong with me. I need to start changing what I'm doing because he doesn't like me or he's falling uninterested in me because of something I did wrong or said wrong. This is where the problems start. Instead of him having majority of the effort going in his direction, right, or his way in the sense that he's putting in most of the effort in the relationship, right? You notice that his effort bar is like over here, okay, right? So let's say he's now putting in just this amount of effort, okay? And then you proceed, let me erase this here. So he's all the way back here, okay? This is his effort bar. Make it nice and simple. And then you proceed to take up all of this room here. This is all you now, okay? This is the problem. See, this happens because you start having in your mind, well, if he seems uninterested in me, if he starts to pull away from me, then it now becomes my responsibility to take action on the fact that he's pulling away from me by doing more, talking more, reaching out more. Maybe I should start saying, hey, Friday, I'm free. By the way, I know you didn't ask if I'm free on Friday or if I wanted to go on a date, but I just thought, since you've been trying, you haven't been talking to me as much, I just wanted to let you know that the Friday that's upcoming, I'm going to be free that day. And then me and you, we can definitely go out somewhere. The place that I would really love to go is that sushi spot down the street. And me and you, we can go on that Friday, right? And so you start thinking, okay, well, if I take more action, I say more things, I remind him of my existence. I always talk to you guys about that, right? Trying to remind a guy of your existence. That's all taking action. Why? Because in your mind, you'll get your desired result or desired outcome of having him not pull away from you if you start taking this into your own hands and saying, I'm going to now be the driver of the relationship. I'm going to now put in the effort. I'm going to now pick up the slack. This is not no time for you to be picking up no slack, okay? And part of the action point here is also acceptance in a sense, because as you realize that taking action in this scenario is not the right way to go about it, you also have to accept the truth, which is that yes, he's pulling away from me. No, I do not yet know the complete answer or truth as to why he's pulling away from me. Despite the fact that I don't know the true answer of exactly why he's pulling away from me, I will still not allow myself to spiral down the depths of despair and begin chasing after him and begin trying to take all of these steps to get him to not pull away from me. Because the reality of it is, the moment you start doing this, you will never get the result that you want, even in the end. And I'm telling you this because I've helped hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands at this point, hundreds of women with their situations with men. And I promise you, not one time of the hundreds that men have pulled away from a woman, has it ever worked out in a woman's favor to say, okay, well, now it's my turn to be the driver, okay? I'm going to be in the driver's seat. I'm going to be scheduling the dates. I'm going to be asking him out. I'm going to be asking him what's going on and making sure he's good so I won't let this fall, okay? You have to accept this is the truth. He's pulled away. Now it's time for your strategy to really come into place, which we're going to start breaking down here in a little bit, okay? Does that make sense for all of you so far? In my YouTube chat, we on the same page. I want to make sure you're not asleep. You better not be asleep in my class. Come around, we'll slap some rulers on your table or something, okay? All right, point number 3 here. Okay. So, we'll do this like this. We're going to draw you out here. We're going to draw your beautiful face and your beautiful body, okay? Beautiful bod you have. 10 out of 10 bod you have. You're a supermodel, okay? There we go. You a baddie. So this is you here. And we're going to put some things around you here. We'll even say, I'm just adding a couple random things here. You'll see why I'm adding them here. We'll say, let's say, okay, we'll put Jim here. We'll put Night out here. And you'll see why I'm putting all these things here in a second, okay? So, number 3 is about living. Because one of the easiest mistakes to make is as you get into a stage where the guy is pulling away from you, you now say to yourself, okay, well, this guy was a part of my life. So we're going to put man here, okay? He was a major part of my life when I was seeing him and when I was dating him, okay? Really important part of my life. I'm starting to feel that he's pulling away from me. He's not asking me out on dates as much. So obviously we're not spending as much time together. The biggest mistake you can make at that time is allowing your life to go on pause. See, it's easy to say, oh yeah, I'd never put my life on pause for a man. I wouldn't do that. But when you're almost like stunned at the fact that this guy's pulling away from you, it takes up so much of your brain space that it might become hard to move forward because you're starting to become like paralyzed mentally. That all you can think about is the fact that, oh my God, he's pulled away from me. What's going on with him? What is he doing? Why is he not talking to me anymore? Why isn't he asking me out on a date? And it becomes very paralyzing because now the time in your schedule or your week has like opened up, right? Because there's time that was allocated to him, spending time with him, going on dates with him, whether it be 2 times a week, 3 times a week sometimes, right? Or even once a week, right? That's still time allocated to that man. Now, some of that time is opening up. You're not going to be texting him as much. Maybe the phone calls you are having aren't as frequent or not happening at all. And then even in the terms of you guys seeing each other, hanging out and dating, you're not seeing him. So all this time's opening up in your schedule and in your life. The paralyzation you feel mentally, though, is forcing you or putting you in a position where you're neglecting these other parts. Subconsciously, you're hoping that at any point in the week, at any point in your life, he'll come back and he'll be like, okay, I'm back now. I'm ready to hang out. I'm ready to date you again. But the problem is, as time goes on and the days are passing and he's not texting you and he's not asking you to hang out and he's not going on a date with you, and you're constantly neglecting these other parts of your life comes to basically a complete halt, right? And it becomes very, very stagnant. The reason this is so dangerous and this is such a mistake is because Now we've just exacerbated the problem of feeling like I did something wrong and I want to take action. Now we've done that, exacerbated that by like 100. Because now you're really going to feel the pressure of, oh my gosh, not only is this man pulling away from me, but now I feel like my whole life is falling apart. And it's a very subconscious self-sabotaging thing that your mind will do. You'll feel like your life is falling apart, not really because your life is falling apart, but because you're neglecting these other parts of your life, because you're spending so much time thinking about this guy and why he's pulled away from you. Right? And subsequently, that paralyzed state is what actually makes you neglect these other parts of your life, okay? So very important. Even when you feel that guy pulling away from you, do not put your life on pause, okay? Continue going out. If you had a Saturday upcoming, let's say for the sake of example, and that Saturday you were hoping to leave open so that you and the guy could go out, and now you're noticing that he's began to pull away from you, I don't want you to continue to leave that Saturday open, I should say, hoping that when Friday afternoon comes, he'll hit you up and he'll be like, oh yeah, I want to go out, let's go on a date, and then you'll be all good to go, right? If you feel him pulling away and the Saturday is free that you were hoping to save for him, instead you say, no. He's pulled away from me, that's his choice, that's his prerogative. My Saturday is getting booked now. Okay? I don't give a damn what he wants. I don't give a damn what he thinks. If he doesn't like that, he shouldn't have pulled away from me, okay? Whether you want to book it with a bubble bath, a spa day, your best friends, your family, however you want to do it and book it up, you book up that Saturday. That way, the reason that this is the best way to go about it is you can at least feel like my life is going on, my life is moving forward, and if he decides to come back into my life, if he decides to return from pulling away, so be it. I'll deal with it then. If he doesn't decide to return from pulling away, my life will continue going on. Okay? Very important. Life and relationships, even in a sense, are also about momentum. So you want to keep your momentum going, right? As soon as you start to stagnate, that's when things fall apart. That's when you start to become a mess. You're in your room, you're crying over a guy that you barely even dated and that doesn't even remember your last name, right? You don't want to be in that place. Got to keep the momentum going. It's not that you don't care about the guy that you're dating, but it's about understanding that even though you're frustrated with how things are going now, you're not going to allow one guy to stop your entire show. Okay? No one's bigger than the program, that's what the kids say, right? That's what the kids say. Okay. Let's hop into point number 4. We all on the same page? We all on the same page? Okay. I'm paying special attention to you guys in the YouTube channel. Okay. Okay. Let's hop into point number 4. If you guys have any questions, you can ask. I'm going fast today. Going super fast. We piling this up with information today. Piling it up. Point number 4. Please don't do this one. I beg you not to do this one. Please don't. This will be very bad if you do this. Very bad. Okay. Point number 4. I'm going to draw your big head here. Large, massive head you have. Extremely large, massive. Okay, there we go. There we go, right here. Extremely large, extremely massive. Okay, and we're gonna list some things here. All right. Okay, so let's discuss this. For point number 4, we're going to discuss calling out because when you're in the situation when a guy pulls away from you, I know deep down in your heart, right? One thing that you really want to do is you want to tell him exactly how you feel. You want to give him, as the kids say, do the kids even say this anymore? A piece of your mind. I don't even know if that's what the kids say anymore, okay? You want to give him a piece of your mind so that he knows that you know what he's doing and you're calling him out on it, okay? Right? This is how you be mature and how you stand up for yourself. The problem is, in the real world that we live in, okay? This doesn't actually work how you think it's going to work, okay? When you call the guy out, this is why it's a mistake. Let's say you call him out and you send him a nice long message, okay? You put it in your notes. You've thought this one out, okay? You wrote it all down. The paragraphs are nice and neat. Punctuation, spelling, no mistakes here. It all makes sense. It's all cohesive. And you've gone through every single point of, hey, I don't like that you pulled away from me. You don't call me anymore. You said you were going to call at 9 p.m. on Tuesdays, and now you don't call me anymore at 9 p.m. on Tuesday. You hate me. You basically don't pretend like you pretend like I don't exist anymore in your life. Who are you with? You said that you were out with your boys, but I seen a girl's fingernail, and the nail polish was pink, and I can't believe you. This is a problem. You're calling him out. You're putting your points together. You're putting your paragraphs together, thinking that you're doing a good job, that when you call him out, he's going to respond by apologizing. He won't, okay? He also will probably spend more time pulled away from you for longer. Yes, when you call him out, maybe you'll have a conversation with him that day when you send him this long thought out message, but I assure you, he will return back to pulling away from you if that's what he was doing before you called him out, okay? I'm not trying to upset you or give you anxiety or make you mad, but this is the honest truth. Every time, like clockwork, if a man has pulled away from you, you calling him out will do absolutely nothing. It will do nothing. It will do nothing. When you call him out, the most that he will do in his response is defend himself or tell you that you're crazy for feeling that way, okay? In some rare cases, he might apologize and say sorry and, I was working and I had this and I had that and my phone died, and he'll give you a bunch of excuses. And then I assure you, he will go back to doing exactly what he was doing before. It never works, okay? So you have to understand, instead of calling him out during this time when you want to send that message, if you want to type it out, if you want to know exactly what you're feeling and why you're feeling, and you want to go through the therapeutic process of saying the message out or typing it out or getting it off your chest, go ahead and do it. Put it in your notes and leave it in your notes. Don't actually ever send it, okay? Because we don't need to send it at this point. It's a pointless activity. He does not think he's doing anything wrong, so you do not address him for doing anything wrong. There's a reason for this, and the reason will become very clear to you in the points that are following, okay? Because you have to make sure, if a guy's gonna pull away from you, he needs to be the one to address you so that then you communicate your feelings and why you're not communicating to him afterwards. I promise you, you will get a much better result than trying to call him out and hoping that in the process of you calling him out, he will then realize what a mistake he's made and then want to make a change. It never works that way. Okay? Right? Are we on the same page? Right? AB says, hell, lie, say nothing's wrong. I'll explain to you exactly how to do this. Someone said, yeah, literally stop sending long messages. Sometimes long messages are self-sabotage in a sense, okay? So I'm gonna explain to you, right, exactly how we go about this. I mean, we've been doing that, but there's a process here, right? So in this next point, I'm gonna help you understand how this process is supposed to go. And your different options here, because you have a few different options, okay? So here we have reach out. Then I'm going to put a large circle here. And we're going to have respond down here. And then another large return to reach out, okay? So let's break this down like this. For point number 5, we're going to talk about responding. This is where all of the key elements of the strategy are going to come together. We're going to give you the right setup and put you in the right mind state to deal with the fact that he's pulling away. Now is how we're going to kind of break down your different options and what you should be looking for in terms of key triggers to know what point you're at. At some point in the process of him pulling away, he's either going to reach out, which we're going to build a strategy for, or he's never going to say anything to you, in which case you kind of got your answer, okay? In the scenario in which he reaches out, this is what I don't want, and this is where the mistake comes in. Some of you make the mistake, this reach out comes, and the version of this reach out might be like this, right? He might reach out to you, and he might just send you an IG meme, okay? Or a TikTok video, or a Snapchat, something very, very low, Facebook meme, if you're on Facebook, okay? Something very, very low quality, something very not addressing the situation, not acknowledging that you guys haven't spoke in a long time, right? Something very, very, almost like to the point where he's just barely keeping communication with you, but almost to the point where he still doesn't seem like he cares at all. This type of reach out, you do not respond to. Okay, that's why I'm putting a circle here, right? So this type of reach out does not get a response from him, right? The reason for that is because we're trying to create a scenario here where the only way you'll respond is if certain key elements of his reach out are triggering your response. I'm going to break this down for you in a way that will make sense. Your goal should be, in the process of him pulling away, if he's going to pull away from me, cool, have it your way, just like Burger King. You're going to have it exactly how you wish. Pull away, you will not hear from me. I won't reach out to you. I'm not going to text you, call you. I'm not going to be on your bum about nothing. You do your own thing. Now, as time is going on, you're going to eventually come to the realization, if you like me, that I'm not going to be chasing you around for nothing. At some point, right, this is what will happen with the guys. I've seen it 100 times. They'll do a couple of low quality reach outs a lot of the time, right? So they'll send you an IG meme. Then you don't respond. You can even view it and don't respond, right? Leave him on scene. He'll send you a TikTok video. View it, don't respond. He'll send you a low quality text. What you doing? Don't respond. He'll say something stupid or quirky, just messaging you randomly. Don't respond, okay? Even if you have your red receipts on, leave them on. Let him see that you've read the message. You might post a picture of you looking good, okay? You're wearing your tightest pair of jeans on the gram. You post it up. You look amazing. You're wearing this amazing dress. You go out with your friends. You look amazing. He swipes up. He responds to it. He says, oh my gosh, you look so good. You look so hot. You view it. You don't respond, okay? I'm going to tell you why you're doing this way. The goal here is that at some point of him sending you all of these low quality reach outs that you're not going to respond to, he eventually realizes within himself, she's not responding to anything, okay? I was pulling away, and I wasn't even thinking about her because when I pull away, I just do my own thing. But now I'm messaging her, I'm sending her Instagram reels, I'm, sending her Snapchats, I'm responding to her stories. She's not responding to anything I'm doing. She's actually literally ignoring me. Now, we flip the script on him, and he's going to start thinking, wait, why is she ignoring me? Why is she not speaking to me anymore? At a certain point, right, he might just say, whatever, I don't care, and just leave it. Or what might happen is that he'll respond, and then eventually one of his messages will go, why are you ignoring me? So I'm going to put that down here. Okay, I'm going to write it down so that you know what it is you're looking for. Let me fix this here. So he's going to ask you why you ignore me. Okay? So he asked you that question in some capacity, right? Why are you ignoring me? Why haven't you been talking to me? Why haven't you been messaging me? What's wrong, right? Now at the point that he asks you and addresses you for ignoring his messages and ignoring his low quality reach outs, this is when you actually respond, okay? And the reason I'm making this a point of a mistake that a lot of women will make is because what a lot of women do in this scenario is they make the mistake of responding to the low quality reach out, the IG meme, the TikTok video, the Facebook meme, right? The problem with that is you're not able to progress anywhere from that. That low quality reach out is designed to just ease you back into being in a relationship with him again, or to be in a talking stage with him again without actually ever addressing your problems. And it doesn't give you the space to even let him know that you have a problem, right? So that's why I want it to be in a particular way, in a particular order, where him prompting you to say, why are you ignoring me, is when you then respond and tell him, oh, I don't really do hot and cold. And so I was kind of doing I was doing my own thing because I'm not going to do the back and forth hot and cold thing, right? And this is where, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit, right? You keep it short and you keep it simple in your response, because then, and the way that the strategy is supposed to work, you then allow him to make his own decision about whether or not he's prepared to make a change or make an adjustment based on the fact that you're saying, yeah, I ignored you because I don't like the way that you're acting. I'm not going to beg you to act different. I'm not going to ask you to act different. I'm just going to move forward with my life. And see, this is why I like it this way, and I want this way for you, because it puts you in a position of power. He's asking you, I need more from you. I want more from you. I don't like what I'm receiving from you. Then you get to respond with, if you don't like what you're receiving from me, this action must, or this situation must be changed and adjusted in a way that suits me. If you don't like what I just said, then you can go ahead and F off and do your own thing. You won't get any access to me. But you're the one who came to me asking me why I am not giving you attention, why I'm ignoring you, why I'm not responding to you. If you're bothered by me not responding to you, these are the rules and instructions you must follow. I'm not forcing you to follow them though, right? You see how that kind of puts you in a better position of power and allows you to keep your dignity even when he pulls away from you, instead of looking super desperado. Desperado, many. Are we on the same page? Okay, someone said he might block me for it. He doesn't like manipulative stuff. Here's the thing, Henya. And any of you that might think this, right? Because this is a fear, but it's an irrational fear. Think about this logically, right? You are feeling fear for a man being upset with you for doing exactly what he is literally doing to you at that exact moment. Imagine that. A guy pulls away from you, doesn't respond to you for 5 or 6 days, comes back sending you casual messages, responding to your stories, then gets upset that you're not responding to him, and then proceeds to block you. Think about how you actually win in that scenario, because one, that person doesn't have any self-awareness if they're going to do that to you and then proceed to get upset with you for doing the same thing that they're doing to you, okay? And number two, right, in that scenario, that person doesn't even have it within them to be accountable for their own actions, right? Because if they address you and they don't like what they're receiving from you, or in the process of them addressing you and then saying, why are you ignoring me? You then tell them why you're ignoring them. And then they proceed to say, well, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't respond that way. It's not going to make a lot of sense. And the reason I say that is because you are with someone who you weren't even going to be able to work out with anyways. Because there has to be a level of accountability to say, you know what? You're right. If I don't like how you respond to me when I do this particular thing, then I must adjust this particular thing. It's really that simple. And you make the equation very simple when you approach it that way. Let's hop into point number 6, I believe. Okay. This is also super important. And OG members, or like the really A+ students, should understand this, but those of you who are kind of newer here may not be as familiar with this concept here. So I'll even put this like this. So this will make even better visual sense to all of you. Okay. We'll put a start here, and we'll say this here. Okay. So that we're all on the same page. All right. For point number 6, we're going to discuss the time limit. One of the things that a lot of you will not do when you're getting into a stage where a guy's pulling away from you is set yourself a limit to say, okay, he's pulled away. His prerogative, his choice, he can do what he wants to do if that's how he feels. I'm going to stick to my strategy. However, if he chooses to pull away from me and, this is going on for some time, I'm not just going to indefinitely allow him to come into my life or back into my life and then everything is all good, or, I just address him a little bit and then we go back to dating again. What you also have to understand excuse me, as it relates to men, what you also have to understand is that at a certain point, you get to a place where we can call it the point of no return. Okay, so we can kind of discuss this here. 2 weeks, 14 days, we will describe point of no return. Okay, so that we're all on the same page of no return. The reason we're calling it the point of no return is because we need to set a time limit, a cutoff date, that eventually once you get to a place where this guy has pulled away and he has not meaningfully addressed the situation, reached out to you, been like, hey, what's going on? What's going on with you? Why are you ignoring me, right? And you guys haven't addressed anything as it relates to the situation. In 2 weeks' time, you're done. The situation is done. You're moving forward, meaning no matter what happens after that, I don't care if he apologizes. I don't care if he gets on his knees. I don't care if he comes to your house. I don't care if he buys you I don't care what happens, okay? 2 weeks' time is more than enough time for a person to realize your importance in their life and say, you know what? I want this person. I want to be with this person. I want to figure things out. I want to solve this issue. I want to solve this problem, okay? If someone can go 2 weeks without addressing you properly, and I'm not talking about sending you another Instagram meme or sending you a Snapchat or whatever. If someone can go 2 weeks without meaningfully reaching out to you and addressing the situation, and I guess we could say returning from pulling away from you, right? They do not actually care about you for real. Just being super real with you, okay? I can speak for men at the very least, especially in romantic relationships. If he will go 2 weeks without properly addressing the situation, and definitely if he goes 2 weeks without reaching out to you at all, just cut it out, okay? Don't lie to yourself and don't pretend to yourself like this can go on forever, that, oh, he's just doing a thing that he's gonna be gone for the next 3 months. And in 3 months' time, when he comes back into my life and addresses me or whatever the case may be, that's when we will go back to being together. No. 2 reasons for that. 1, it'll prevent you from creating a lot of confusion in your life. Number 2, it'll also make it so that when you move forward and you're done with one person, you know in your mind you're done with that person. And then if they do return, it doesn't confuse you in your new relationships, okay? So it's kind of helping you with confusion in 2 senses, right? Because you don't want to be living in gray areas in your life. Because what will happen over the course of time is you're going to talk to different guys. And as you talk to different guys, some might pull away from you. And when they do this process, if you don't have a cutoff limit, you might end up in limbo with like 3 or 4 guys at once. And then by the time you're in limbo with 3 or 4 guys at once, you're like talking to one guy that you like, and then this other guy is coming back from a 3-month hiatus, and you don't know what to do because you're like, oh my gosh, I don't really have a strategy for this because he's apologizing now and he's addressing the situation, but the situation was 3 months ago, and now I'm talking to a new guy and it doesn't work out. Right? You just confuse yourself more and you make situations harder for yourself. So what do? You set a time limit. That time limit for me, if you're asking me, should always be at the most 2 weeks. If you want to make it shorter than that, you could. Things get tight and weird though. I would say 2 weeks is the sweet spot. Okay? Anything longer than that makes no sense. Because at 2 weeks' time, no matter what the emergency, no matter what the issue, no matter what the problem, remember how I talked to you guys about personal stuff at the beginning, right? Things that could be going on in his life, no matter what the situation with the family member or a friendship, a work situation, in 2 weeks' time, he's capable of addressing you, okay? And addressing the situation, letting you know what's going on, and allowing you guys to move forward from it, okay? In 2 weeks' time, he can do that. If he can't be bothered to do that in 2 weeks' time, he really don't give a damn. So don't let him convince you that he give a damn after the 2 weeks is up, okay? Because that's not the truth. At that point, he's just returning to you because now it's convenient for him. Maybe he's not talking to his ex anymore. Maybe the girl he was talking to now, he's not talking to any. I promise you, it's because of convenience rather than him actually wanting to, build this relationship still, okay? Does that make sense? Henya says, 2 weeks start when I release my energy from him completely. Even though it's been a year, I haven't energetically let go. Oh, that's the other thing, Henya. You mentioned something that I should have mentioned even in this. So you're not, any of you are not confused. when you start this timer, I should say, the timer starts not when you, let's say, starting to realize that he's pulling away. The timer starts from the last meaningful conversation that you guys have had, okay? So whether it be a last date is the last meaningful conversation you guys had, a last phone call is the last meaningful conversation that you guys had, or whatever the last one is, okay? Version of that, okay? Because the reason I say that is when the pulling away really technically started. So when the pulling away really technically starts, that's when you say to yourself, okay, we're on a timer now. And once we get to 2 weeks from that first day of pulling away, that is when I then say there's the point of no return, okay? So that none of you are confused. Because sometimes you might only feel like he's pulling away after it's been the 4th day, right? But you have to count those 4 days in which has pulled away, right? Once you get up to your total of 14, just to keep it nice and easy for you all math-wise, okay? I know some of you might think, well, that's so silly. I can't put a date on it. What if he's doing this? What if he's doing that? I promise you, 14 days is enough to do anything, recover from it, and then have a conversation with you about it. There's nothing that could happen in 14 days that you guys couldn't at least have a conversation about this stuff, okay? So that was point number 6, right? So we're on point number 7, okay? Just as important. Actually, they're getting more important. Let's do this like this. So I'm going to attempt to draw something. It's not going to look like the thing, but we'll do this. So I'll just do it. You'll get my point. So we can do this here. And I know this is a rough drawing, but bear with me, Chad, okay? So we'll put here, let's put a reference here. This dark here. Okay? Yeah, that'll make sense, okay? So let's do this. For point number 7, we're going to discuss stalking, okay? Stalking can be a dangerous game you can play with yourself. That sounded kind of weird. Stalking can be a dangerous game to play, especially in our day and age where the people that you'll date will be super duper accessible. You'll have access to their Instagram, their Facebook, their LinkedIn, their Twitter, everything, okay? And you'll be able to keep track of all that they're doing. I always talk to you guys about a monster. That if you make the mistake of feeding this monster too frequently and too often, you will go crazy. And you'll get to a point where that monster will be fed so much that it'll be so loud and it'll take control of you that you won't be able to actually prevent the monster from taking self-sabotaging action. Let me explain to you this visual so you understand what I mean, okay? This ledger here, this black stuff, this soot, is space in your brain that the man is taking up, right? So let's just say hypothetically, right, in a normal situation, in a healthy situation, a man is only taking up, let's just say 1/3 of the space in your brain, right? You're thinking about him, but you're not always thinking about him, but you're not never thinking about him, but you know, she's still on your mind on a consistent basis, right, in a healthy way. Now, when you get to the point where the guy has now pulled away from you, and you're starting to become very, very anxious, okay? This can become the danger zone where he was taking up 1/3 of the space in your brain. But now as the days go by, he's now kind of like at halfway because you're thinking about, wait, what is he doing today? Why is he pulled away from me? I'm wondering what's going on. Has something changed? Did I not dress the right way? Did I eat too fast on our last date? Does he think I'm weird now? And so this is what's happening in those first couple of days of him pulling away from you, or for some of you in the first couple of hours. And then as we get further and further along the line here of a guy pulling away from you, he goes all the way from 1/3, or in some cases 1/4 of your brain space to taking up majority of your brain space. And in some of your cases, when you're going crazy, this is your brain now, okay? Right? Where literally all you can think about all day while you're at work, while you're at school, while you're with your friends, while you're doing anything, while you're eating cereal, okay? You're always thinking about this guy, and you're always thinking about what he's doing, okay? Now, why do I bring up stalking, and why is this an important part of the process here, or what I'm trying to discuss with you? When you go on his page and you stalk what he's doing, who he's hanging out with, where he is at this time, what he's spending his time doing, okay? Right? Did he go out to this club? Did he go out to this restaurant? Who's there? Let me look at I know what all you guys do. He posts the tag of the place where he is on Instagram. So you go to the tag of the place on Instagram, right? And then you look at the stories that other people have posted in that location to see if you can see him in the background of someone else's story to see if he's really with another girl. You think I don't know? Do you think I don't know? I know. So this is a problem here, right? As you feed that monster, little by little, right? The monster wants more. Monster wants a little bit more. No, that's not enough information. You need more information, okay? He's been ignoring you. It's been 2 hours now. Now it's been 24. Now it's been 2 days. Now it's been 3 days. And the monster always wants more, okay? The monster is always looking for more, is never satisfied. As the monster is looking for more and more information, never satisfied, and you feed it, the monster only gets bigger and harder to control. Once that monster gets out of control, the monster will ask you to do really crazy things, really stupid things, really self-sabotaging things. One of them might be, let's reach out to him. Let's go crazy on him. Let's spam call him if we see something we don't know. No. Stalking, even in a digital sense, is feeding a monster. Your brain will end up like this, scrambled, only being able to think about him all day. Every time you open Instagram, every time you open Snapchat, every time you open Facebook, you're looking if he's posted a story. You will go crazy. You will send yourself down a dark spiral, and you will make it so much harder for you to do any of the things that we discussed here. You're not going to, I'm telling you this even from a man's perspective. You will not be able to think straight. You'll not be able to operate. You'll not be able to stick to what you know you should be doing. Because when your brain is like this, your brain will be screaming at you, say something to him, text him, reach out, ask him why he's doing this. Why is he pulling away? Tell him that he's wrong. Call him out. Go crazy. Do something, right? You will, like Elizabeth just said, you will spiral. I promise you. I promise you, you will spiral. Do not stalk. Okay? If you have to put him on mute for the time being while he's pulled away from you, then do that, okay? I don't want to say you need to block him because you're not going to send the right message if you block him. We're not trying to do that. But if you need to, mute him. If you need to delete the app off of your phone for the time being, you don't have to delete your profile. Delete the app off your phone for the time being so you're not constantly checking it, if that's what you need to do, okay? But you can't be digitally stalking. I promise you, you will make yourself go insane. Are we on the same page? You guys thought I didn't know, huh? You probably thought I didn't know. I know about that location thing where you can click on the location when they post a story and then see who else is posted in that. I know. Trust me, Chad, I know. This is 21st century, okay? This is the 21st century. I know how to use the maps. Nobody can get past me, okay? Let's hop into point number 8. Point number 8 here. Be honest, have you ever used that on Instagram to track a guy or to see what he's up to? Because I know some of you that's one of your secret weapons, okay? Number 8 here. Okay. All right. That is not a good looking 8. For point number 8, we'll talk about this. So, that's how you spell that, right, Trap? Boundaries. Boundaries. We'll put respect here. We'll put accountability here. We'll say consistent. And we'll just add here, let's just say Princess. Treatment. Okay. Okay. Let's hop into point number 8. So we'll discuss for point number 8, changing. See, this is, it should have been higher, to be honest, because this is actually really important. So I want you guys paying attention to this. One of the easiest mistakes to make, a guy pulls away from you. You now start, like we talked about in point number 1, thinking to yourself, oh my God, something's wrong with me. I need to do something because he doesn't like me anymore. He's not interested in me anymore. I'm doing something wrong, so I need to adjust my behavior so he now likes me again. This energy will have you so messed up. You will start doing this. This is what comes from this. Let's say at the beginning, before he pulled away from you, you had these list of boundaries that you wanted and expected from this guy in a relationship, right? No sleeping with him on very early on. You want respect. You want a guy to be accountable to you and accountable in the relationship. You want consistency. You want princess treatment. These are all things that are things you expect. They're boundaries for you. You're not willing to cross them. You have these expectations. We can say boundaries and standards, right? Then you get to a point where he pulls away from you and you say to yourself, maybe I have too many of these boundaries. I have too many of these standards, okay? And maybe in the process of him pulling away, I need to lower some of these boundaries and standards. This sex thing, I need to chill on it. It's too much, okay? I'm doing too much with it. Respect, sometimes people get angry. Accountability, I'm tripping. Consistency, everyone falls off. Princess treatment, he doesn't need to do too much, right? So the reason that this happens is because you start thinking, well, okay, if I kind of change some things about myself, right? Because this is the virus. Remember, you started off thinking to yourself, okay, something I must have been doing must be wrong. You started off with that foundation narrative. Okay, I'm doing something wrong, which is why he pulled away from me. That dangerous foundation is then what leads you to say, okay, now what must I change in order for him, the next time he comes back into my life or the next time he starts talking to me, I'll change this so that he won't pull away from me next time. Oh, maybe he pulled away from me, and this is one of the main ones that a lot of you will do. Maybe he pulled away from me because I didn't sleep with him yet. So now he's starting to get bored. So I'll make sure that the next time he comes back into my life, why am I going to have that boundary anymore? Forget that boundary. I'll sleep with him, okay? And I'll sleep with him and not make it super hard for him, not make him wait anymore, so that he won't pull away from me anymore, and then everything will be all good. There won't be anything wrong with me. And this is why it's such a grave mistake, because and I've actually seen it happen. It's very sad. It's very chilling, very depressing. In some cases, let's say for the example, sleeping with him is the thing that you change, right? You're not sleeping with him, and then he pulls away. You say, I need to change something. I'm going to sleep with him so that he won't pull away from me. So then you reach out to, which I don't want you doing. You reach out to him. You basically set up your own date. He didn't ask you to go out. You just said, hey, let's go out somewhere. Let's do something. You go over to his house. I've seen it happen. It makes me very sad. You go over to his house, okay? He didn't even say, hey, let's go for a date. I want to see you. You basically end up inviting yourself over by bringing it up and introducing it. And then you Uber yourself over or drive yourself over or bus yourself over. You get to his place. You sleep with him for free, for nothing, okay? He hasn't done nothing for you. And now you sleep with him thinking to yourself, okay, after this, when I sleep with him, he'll go back to talking to me again. He'll go back to being interested in me again. We'll go back to being in our regular relationship again. He won't pull away from me. And you want to know the craziest, most insane part of the stories like that? And I'm telling you this from multiple experiences. After you do that, thinking that that's going to resolve the pulling away issue, you sleep with him. And then the next day, he's just as distant. And then you're looking around like, I thought sleeping with him was going to solve the problem here. I thought changing this boundary or changing this thing about myself was going to be the thing that kind of smooths everything over. And then you realize, oh my God, I just slept with him and he's still pulling away from me. And then you feel like a real idiot. Not to be mean to you. Then you really feel like an idiot. then you really feel depressed, because now you feel like, oh my gosh, I just gave my body away. I just wasted a body. He still pulled away from me. And now I don't even know what to do next, because I thought the solution was sleep with him. And now I slept with him and he's still acting distant. Now I'm double whammy. Okay. Wham whammy, like the kids say. So this is a problem, right? You can't be looking to change things about yourself because you believe that something is wrong with you, that you've done wrong, okay? First of all, you need to wait to receive more information. And second of all, you can't be changing any boundaries or things about yourself, hoping that that's gonna make him re-interested in you. The truth of the matter is it's not. He's gonna make a decision for himself, whether or not he feels like coming back into your life, because he already has a burning desire or passion for you or wants to be in your life. If he doesn't, then you have to accept that as the truth, okay? Very important, okay? Henya says, I know a couple that are still together after all that. After doing all of this, let me ask you a question, right? If you know someone that won the lottery, would you then quit your job to hope that one day you'll win the lottery because someone you know won the lottery? If that's what you're referring to, right? Very important, right? We can't play with your love life or play your love life based on situations that most likely will not happen for a majority of people. We have to play your love life or take your love life seriously by setting you up with strategies that will allow you to be successful no matter what, not by chance, okay? Because sometimes you guys be like, oh, but I know someone and the girl, she slept with him on the first night and everything was fine and they didn't have any problems. 100%. That definitely happens. But does it happen often enough that I would advise you to go about it that same way? Absolutely not. Okay. So when we're building strategies for all of you on how you guys should go about determining how to approach men and respond to them in relationships and situations, we have to be going on how real guys are actually going to respond. Will you possibly meet some guys that will be so amazing that you'll sleep with them on the first night and they'll still treat you with respect and they won't change and they'll marry you? Sure, you could, but you could also win the lottery. Is that likely? Probably not. Are we going to plan our future on you winning the lottery? That would be irresponsible. Okay? So we have to get realistic here, okay? Let's hop into point number, what was that? That was 8, with point number 9. Okay. Alrighty. We'll do this like this. And so I'll make this like this. Draw this out here. Put that there. And there. There we go. It's kind of funny to me because I know how I'm going to describe it to you. That's why I'm laughing. Okay, so we'll do this. And do that like that, that like that, that like that, that like that. Okay, so one of the other mistakes, point number 9, is the over-explain. Oh, how some of you know I hate the over-explaining. The mistake of over-explaining as it relates to a man pulling away from you, very easy to make. When you get to a place where you feel like, okay, he's not talking to me anymore, he's losing interest in me, you might start to say, okay, if he does respond to me, if he does reach out to me in any capacity, that's my opportunity to tell him how upset I've been that he hasn't been texting me. This is my opportunity to send him that long text that's been in my drafts, been in my notes, right? To tell him each and every point of what he did, when he didn't call, when he said he was gonna call, when he didn't text, when he said he was gonna text, how his texting habits have been different, how he hasn't been reaching out. I'm not saying communication is bad, but what I am saying is in this specific scenario, when a guy pulls away from you, I don't need you to over-explain. I drew this out as a visual to try and help you understand this idea, right? You have a book and a list of things that have been bothering you about the fact that he has pulled away from you. Unfortunately, men most of the time are not going to be able to receive that. The best thing you can do when a guy pulls away from you, remember, you ignore him, until he responds in a way that triggers what we call want a response from you is, right? Like the type of response we want from you based on the type of reach out he's going to reach out to you with, right? Like we talked about earlier. When he does that, okay, that's the only time you address the situation. But even in the way you address the situation, you still do not over-explain yourself, okay? Because it's not necessary. It's not necessary to get your point across, and it's not necessary to get your desired outcome. Once a man understands, okay, she pulled away because I've been hot and cold and she clearly is not going to beg me to come back into her life, that's all he needs to know. If he wants more information, he can ask for more information and then you can give him a little bit more information. But the reason I would love for you when a guy pulls away, at least in this specific scenario, keep it short and sweet, is because one, I don't want you to spiral and begin, and it's this, and it's that, and it's this. And when you do that, I promise you, you'll just feel like, okay, I just want to dump everything out now. And the problem with that is if that's not received properly by him, or his response to it is to ignore you, or maybe for him it's overwhelming and he just doesn't say anything, now you're going to feel even worse about yourself. Then you're going to try to be like, okay, I want to save this and save my dignity. I sent the long message and he didn't respond, so maybe I'll apologize for sending the long It just throws everything off, okay? Best thing for you to do, keep it short and sweet. Allow him to, if he's inquiring about, hey, why is this happening? Why is this going on? Why are you ignoring me, right? You let him know in a basic sense, right? You don't have to go in super detail. Then if he wants more information, he can ask for more information, okay? And then you can give him a little bit more. But other than that, you don't need to over-explain in this scenario. Let him feel the burden and the weight of, hey, why are you not talking to me anymore? Why are you ignoring my messages? Why are you ignoring my request to hang out? Then when you address that, let him decide, okay, do I want to change something? Do I want to adjust something? Do I want to hear her side of the story? Is what she feels important to me? When he decides that, then you can start to open up in your communication, okay? Are we on the same page, right? Are we making sense to each other? Laura says he'll probably leave her for, what'd you say? He'll probably leave her when he finds a better woman for him. What are you referring to? What are you referring to? Sunfeather said, even when we are best friends and they know it, they still act a fool, not worth us just because they know we are the greatest good they are ever going to get. What are you referring to? What are you referring to? Laura says Delulu people in the chat. That's interesting. Let's hop into point number 10, right? It's point number 10. Point number 10. When Lemmy put some Lululemon on his butt. Let's hop into point number 10. Okay, point number 10 here. Alrighty. So, let me say this. Okay. So, and we'll do videos. Oops. The videos. You could memes in some cases. Oh, I hate this. I hate this when people do this. Oh my God. And then even, we'll just say you posting. Oh, I could even say, let me put this. New era stuff. People don't tweet that much anymore to subtweet, do they? Okay. All right, we're going to address this. And I know I put Instagram, but we're going to address all social media. So for number 10, we're going to talk about subs. I hate them, and I hate them for a very passionate, specific reason. When a guy pulls away from you, do not make him feel important. Let me say that again. When a guy pulls away from you, do not make him feel important. One more time. When a guy pulls away from you, do not make him feel important. When you get on your Instagram and you start posting quotes, okay? You start posting stuff that you see online on that white screen, all right? From Twitter, from wherever. That is going to send him a message when he sees that on your profile and he sees you posting that. He's going to know this is about me. You're bothered. You don't like that he's not seeing you anymore. He's not texting you anymore. He's going to feel important. When you post videos, right, sometimes you might see an Instagram reel, right, or a TikTok video that applies to your situation. You know those ones where the people are like dancing and the dancing is like super unrelated and then they'll just have a whole bunch of text on the screen. It's basically the new age subtweet, okay, right? We don't tweet anymore, so people make the little TikTok dance video and then the screen will be filled with words and it'll be so, oh, when someone doesn't recognize your value and you know you're gonna find someone better, and then it's like someone like dancing, like doing some unrelated dance like that, right? Don't post that, okay? Don't repost it, don't like it. Don't like it on TikTok and then hope that he'll go through your repost and see you. None. Don't interact with it at all. Okay? Memes, same concept, right? Black screen posts. Okay? None of that. None of that. You get on Instagram and you're on the black screen and then you just start typing away, right? You're trying to get your feelings off. Don't do it. He will see it. He will know it's about him. He will feel very important and relevant to you. We're not trying to do that. We're trying to show him that when you move forward in your life, right? Or let's say he wants to do his hot and cold thing, do that, okay? You have to give off unbothered energy to properly affect men in a way that bothers them, okay? I know it sounds very weird and I know it sounds very much like a game, but you guys want to know how to pull away from men properly? I'm telling you how. Men, they feel bothered when they realize you are unbothered. So if we actually want to make a man feel things as it relates to you, you have to give off unbothered energy. And the only way to do that is to look as unbothered as possible by not referencing anything going on in your relationship with him, okay? In some cases, even like with captions, like the caption that you might post on your Instagram post itself on your main feed, that as well. And in some cases, you have to be so self-aware of like, okay, what I'm posting now, could this be twisted or like maybe from his perspective seen as like a subliminal? If it's borderline, don't bother posting it, okay? Right? Like if you see a quote that kind of seems like he might take it as it's referring to him, don't bother posting it. I know it sounds very weird and very strange to be like policing your own posts like that, but I promise you, men are looking for those hints and those clues to see, hey, you thinking about me? Hey, you bothered that I'm not messaging you anymore? You bothered that I'm doing my own thing now, right? Because when he comes back into your life and he says, why are you ignoring me? When you say, oh, you were doing your hot and cold thing, so I just moved on, right? I was just doing my own thing, whatever, right? That whatever, that energy that you give off, like I'm unbothered, I don't really care what you're doing. If you're not going to be on my program, then it's whatever. That energy you give off has to seem authentic, at least real enough that he can believe it. But if you're posting all these quotes that make you look super bothered, when you respond that way, it's not going to seem authentic. It's not even going to seem believable, okay? At the very least, even if we're not going to say it's super authentic to you, we at least want to make it believable to the man. Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to put you in a position of power so that instead of you being desperate when he pulls away and saying, why did you pull away? Please talk to me. Please pay attention to me. Please go out with me. He can be the one saying, wait, but why don't you respond to my messages anymore? Why don't you want to hang out with me anymore? Then you can say, your hot and cold thing's not my cup of tea. I'm not begging you for nothing. I'm not asking you for nothing. It's just not my thing. So I go and do my own thing, right? And that type of energy, that type of response, that's the only way you'll actually successfully get through the him pulling away from you part to maybe get back into him actually paying attention to building this relationship with you properly, okay? And on top of that, you do that with dignity. And even if he doesn't come back into your life, you don't end the relationship off with you looking like a peasant, okay? You get to end it even if, let's say, he pulls away from you and, he doesn't really come back. He's just kind of being, very, very inconsistent. At least you still end the situation with having dignity and not making yourself look like a complete fool. Because the reality of it is, in that time frame, you might think, well, if I would have reached out to him, then maybe we'd be talking now. No, you wouldn't, okay? Guys know what they're doing. If they have your number, they know how to contact you. They have your Instagram. For most of them, they know where you live because they've dropped you off there at least once or twice. They've been near your place. They know your friends. If they really wanted to get in contact with you, they know how to do that. So you can't play a trick on yourself by saying, oh, well, maybe I need to do this. Maybe I need to do that. Maybe I need to reach out. Maybe you need to do nothing. Maybe you need to go out with your friends. Maybe you need to do something else other than think about him. Anything else. Are we on the same page, right? Do you guys have any questions about the 10 that we just discussed here today on today's show? I'm gonna try and answer as many of your questions. I'm giving special attention to all of you in the YouTube chat today. Okay? Very, very, very important. Cece says, Tomisin, how did you become so wise? He's excellent. Just life experience, okay? Just life experience. I try to analyze things in my own life, ask myself why I responded that way, why I acted that way, and then do that of the relationships I have. And even in my own friendships, analyze them. I'm a very curious person. So just really curiosity, okay? But I still make mistakes too. Don't think that I'm a perfect person, okay? Just because I have some information. I definitely make mistakes in my own life, which is why sometimes I come on here and teach you guys a lesson from some of the mistakes I made, okay? G says, 9 out of 10 times it's a red flag if he doesn't respond. That is true, okay? Class says, yeah, don't be bothered. Have your own life. That's 100% true. Nicole Cottom says, I have a question. What is your question, Nicole Cottom? Miss Blue says, I'm bitter and hungry. Bitter and angry, but I need this information. This information is good, even though it might trigger you and you might be like, damn, why do I have to do it like that? Because I know sometimes when we talk about some of this stuff, it can, you might start to feel like, oh, well, why do we have to do these type of things to get a guy to want us, or get a guy to desire us, or get a guy to act right? Well, you know, I didn't create the game, but I can explain it to you. And you also have to understand with men, they're only going to take action when they feel like taking action. You're just not going to be able to convince a guy into thinking that you're important enough in his life that he should be consistent with you. You have to more just recognize the guys that are ready for that and the guys who are not ready for that or not interested in that, okay? Savannah says, he literally pulled away yesterday. It's like you're in my brain. I am in your brain, okay? In your brain, on your shoulder, in your ear, okay? In your mind, when you're asleep, when you're on your dates, when you should be hearing my voice of trying to guide you on how to go about this, okay? When you're ready to crash out, don't do it, okay? When you're ready to go crazy, don't do it. When you're ready to reach out or spam text him, don't do it. You should be hearing my voice. Why did you decide to help us girlies with dating? You are doing God's work. We appreciate you. Well, really, it's because my interest in psychology and my interest in why people do the things that they do, and also my ability to explain that, really serves you, the women, the most, because you all have a gap in your knowledge, because for men, they're not good at explaining their own actions. And a lot of times they're not even good at explaining their own emotions of why they're operating the way that they are. So for you, you're left void a lot of times of the information and the knowledge when a guy does a certain thing, that if I am here and I'm able to provide that knowledge, then it's a very valuable, process where we can merge together. I can give you information because I'm interested in that information myself. I've analyzed it myself, and then you guys get to have that information. I used to get some questions, I still get them sometimes, where people would be like, oh, well, why don't you teach the man how to act right and how to do this and how to do that? And my answer is always, well, one, if I were to teaching the men how to act right, you wouldn't have me because I'm only one person. So my energy would go towards teaching them how to act right. You wouldn't get any of the knowledge or information though. And the second part of that is, if I was realistically trying to teach men how to act right, everyone is outcome driven, right? Which there's nothing wrong with that. For men, their desired outcome is not, how do I treat women better? Their desired outcome is, how do I get the most amount of women with the least amount of energy and effort, okay? And at the most amount of efficiency. That's their desired outcome. So when I tell them, treat women better, do this and do that, their question is that actually gonna help me get more women? And the unfortunate truth is no. For men, them strategizing on how to manipulate women, say what they want to hear, do what they want to hear, let them live in a facade and a fantasy to get what they want, right? That is the most efficient way for them to get the most amount of women. So they're not really interested in treating women with respect for the sake of treating them with respect. I'm not saying that all guys want to disrespect you, but what I'm saying is their desired outcome is different from yours, right? Your desire to understand men is to kind of combat some of the games that they'll play in the process of dating you, right? So that you can properly weed out the men who are useless, who are just trying to play games, from the men who are serious and actually are trying to build a relationship with you, right? So your desired outcomes are slightly different. That's why the way that I would go about teaching them, it wouldn't even work for what I'm doing here, right? Because they're not as interested in this type of information, right? Nothing wrong with that, it's just the truth. Nicole Cottom says, you are an anointed teacher. Thank you very much, okay? Laura says, because we're idiots. No, we all struggle with relationships to a certain extent because who's really going to teach us about them? You have a course on math, you have a course on science, you can get an engineering degree, you can become a nurse, you can become a doctor, but nobody's there to really teach you about relationships. And even if you have a mom and a dad in your life, sometimes they're not going to have a conversation with you about relationships and how to avoid this and what to look out for, right? Because even sometimes parents won't have that conversation. So there has to be someone that gives you that advice, or at least can get your wheels turning to think on a deeper level as it relates to relationships. Royalty says, because it feels like I'm playing a game that I don't want to play. Why does it take this strategy to get men to just communicate and like be a normal person? Royalty, it's a great question, right? It's a question I get a lot. But here's the thing about that is, unfortunately, we don't live in a perfect world. And if we were to go along with things, especially dating, with the idea that, hey, I want to live in a perfect world where I don't have to strategize, I don't have to do anything, I can just be myself and people will love me and cherish me and respect me. If you live in that fantasy, you will be the one that gets stepped on, okay? If you live in that fantasy for long enough, because that's just not how the world is. People will take advantage of you if you allow them to. People, if you want to be the kindest person and do everything for everyone all the time, people will see that and they'll say, perfect, this is the person that I can get everything from and extract from and then leave, right? So the reason I say that is you just have to come to a realization that, unfortunately, the world that we live in is not that world. You can still have a great relationship, you can still have happiness, but just like with anything else good in life, it's going to take some work. And it's going to take some strategy, right? You wouldn't expect to become a millionaire or a billionaire just by chance. So you can't also expect to have a great relationship just by chance either, or to have a great partner just by chance either, because there's a lot of bad people out there, and there's a lot of people who won't be a good partner to you. And it's the same concept, honestly, as winning the lottery, right? There are people who become millionaires by winning the lottery, and they don't have to work for it, and they don't have to think about managing money or making money or any of that, right? But can you base your entire life off the fact that some people win the lottery? No. Can you base your entire life off the fact that some people, literally their very first relationship, very first person they meet, they never have to get advice, they never have to go to a dating event, they never have to do anything except meet that person, and when they meet that person, everything is perfect? Yeah, some people live that life. Is that the life that you're likely gonna live? Probably not. As much as I would love that for you, that's probably not what you're going to experience. So let's strategize for what you're actually going to experience, right? Does that make sense? Ms. Blue says, I'm fighting back, kind of scared, kind of excited. Now I know all men ultimately want to do is hunch, right? There's, I don't want to make a blanket statement saying that's all men ever want to do is smash, but you also have to be real in that a lot of men, majority of their desired outcome, at least at first, is, hey, I think she's attractive, I would love to sleep with her, okay, right? Or at very least, I'm attracted to her physically, right? So you just have to understand that and not get too mesmerized, especially at the beginning, with the things that men will say or do with you at the beginning of when you first meet them, and kind of gauge and be self-aware in that sense. Excuse me. Alona says, I don't have any about specific number 10, but what if you start talking to a guy and he randomly stops responding, then comes back a few days later? How should you navigate that? Well, if he stops responding and then comes back a few days later, remember how I said, revert back to point number 5, where I talked about exactly what you're looking for in terms of his comeback, right? When he reaches out, he should be reaching out in a meaningful way that actually triggers your response. So if he's reaching out and his version of reaching out is by sending you a TikTok video or an IG meme or just saying, what's up, how you doing? I want you to actively ignore that. And I want you to actively ignore that until one of his reach outs is, why are you ignoring me? Okay? And I talked about it in point number 5, why I want that to be the only way you respond. Because when he's prompting you by saying, why are you ignoring me? Now is the time where I want you to address his behavior as to why you've acted this way. Because when you address it that way, in that order, he cannot then say, I don't like your response. Because your response was prompted by him wanting information of why he's being ignored. He can't then say, I'm angry that that's your answer. That's your answer. You see how it kind of like backs him into a corner and it stops him from being able to do the thing that guys want to do, which is either gaslight you, tell you you're wrong, or make all of these silly excuses, right? Because he's coming to you. Why are you ignoring me? I'm ignoring you because you did this and this and that. So now you decide for yourself, if you don't like me ignoring you, you better change this and this and that, or you're not going to get access to me. The choice is yours. And then you leave it to the man to decide, what does he want to do? What would he rather do? What's the most important thing to him, right? That's the best way to go about it, in my opinion. Okay. Miss Blue says, I used to live in a fantasy world because I didn't have my parents. My therapist told me to wake the F up. I'm glad your therapist told you that. Sometimes therapists can be good, and sometimes they, I don't want to say can be bad, but sometimes they can also talk to you about idealistic versions of the world. I don't know. Not every therapist, obviously. Some might be super real with you and tell you the real of the real, but some might tell you, oh, you know, open communication, you have to be honest, tell people how you, and in every case, that's not the case in reality, right? Not in every case is open communication and just telling people exactly how you feel the way to go about it, right? Because in some cases, you actually need to keep things to yourself and allow people to come to you. If they actually care, then you can start communicating with people that actually care about what you have to say and actually want to fix things and actually want to be accountable. Sometimes you might end up over communicating with people who have no desire to be accountable. Then you'll feel like you're going crazy, okay? Lauren K says, how do I ignore a guy that goes to my gym? He's very confident and not afraid to put his hands on me in the parking lot. What type of gym you go to? You go to a Diddy gym. What type of gym that is? They got baby oil in the back of that gym? What type of gym that? He puts his hands on me in the parking lot. He's 6'2", 230 pounds. How do you know his weight? What type of gym you going to? I really like him, but lately he's been all talk, no action. Well, is it really no action? He's putting his hands on you in the parking lot. Lauren Kate, what is your goal here? What is your incentive here? I'm a little bit confused. And why is he putting his hands on you in the parking lot? I'm confused here. That sounds like a Diddy gym. I'm not sure what type of gym you guys are going to. There, you got to explain more for me. Sunny says, isn't it weird? Men call women out for being emotional, but but then we women marry for security and then they call us gold diggers, but men want, oops, where'd it go? Did you delete it? I think you deleted it. It's okay, Sunny. Oh, you put it back there. Sometimes I feel like we're never enough. Maybe men need to learn how to remove themselves from toxicity, stop projecting it onto women. We can fix and fix, but it doesn't equate to loyalty. Well, you know, the thing about it is we're not going to be able to change every man. What our goal should be here is to weed out the men who we don't want, okay? Recognize the type of men we don't want and weed them out, and then find the men that is what we're looking for in a partner, character-wise as an individual, and then be with those men and not spend a lot of time and energy on the men who we don't want, to be honest, right? Michelle says, what do you do if he projects onto you and he thinks you're asking, where are we at? Do you correct him? What do you mean he projects onto you? Like he thinks something that you said was you trying to say, where are we at? Or what are we, right? in how would he think that though? How would he kind of project that onto you? What would be the situation there? Uh, Bella says, and also with self-love and self-value, enough to analyze very well before entering any relationship. That's always true. That's always true. It's very important to have your own self-love and self-value, because when you get into a relationship and you're not operating from a desperate place, that's when you'll be the most successful in your relationships. Lauren K says, we've gone on 4 dates and he seemed to be serious, but now he's playing. So you have gone on dates. So this ain't just the Diddy gym that you guys are at where there's baby oil everywhere and he's touching up on you outside of the gym. Trying to get me to chase, etc. won't happen, but he sees me often at the gym. I don't like that he has that access. Lauren K, this is a great thing that you mentioned that I know happens to some of you. So there's 2 things that you can do. One is easy, one is hard. I'll start with the hard one. The hard one, maybe you just change gyms. For the time being, that's a lot harder, a lot less realistic. The other thing you can do is, if you know there's a particular time that he always sees you at the gym, just go at a different time. I know it requires you to adjust your schedule a little bit, but let's say you usually go at night, maybe try going in the morning now, or on your break at work, something, okay? Just try to go at a different time frame where you're not always gonna run into him. At least then, when he can stop seeing you as much, now he's really gonna have to have some pressure on him where it's like, hey, if you're not gonna ask her out on a date, don't think that you're just gonna see her at the gym all the time and be able to chit chat with her, right? Because Lauren K, what's happening to you is what happens to a lot of women who date a guy who they work with. When he starts being inconsistent, when he starts getting weird, when you want to pull away, or when you want to set a boundary, all of a sudden he'll see you at work, start chatting with you, knowing that's going to be hard for you to ignore him when he sees you at work, right? And so then he doesn't address things because he knows when you guys get to work, he's going to be able to see you then and pretend like nothing is happening, okay? She Wavy says, some of these men are dangerous and not healthy and healed enough to be in a relationship. I 100% agree. 100% agree. Miss Blue says, LOL, I even insult them now. Tell them they'd be better as a baby daddy when I know they say they want to be husbands. That's crazy. That's crazy. No need. I'm not telling you guys go on your dates and start insulting men that you're on dates with. That's not my advice, okay? You ignore his messages and calls, and he totally ignores the fact that he's been MIA. How do you go about it? So I talked about this in point number 5. Your response will only be triggered by a meaningful reach out. And what we described as a meaningful reach out is when he is addressing you by saying, why have you been ignoring me? Why are you not talking to me anymore? Why are you not responding to me anymore? When he says that, that's when you respond. Anything outside of that, you do not respond. No matter how much he texts, no matter how much he calls, no matter how much he says, whatever, right? Because we want you to be prompted to then give him why you've been ignoring him and why this hasn't been working for you. It's a better way to go about that in terms of order of operations, okay? G says, what's your number 1 piece of advice for healing heartbreak? My number 1 piece of advice would be build yourself a schedule, okay? There's obviously a whole breakdown of things that I could say, but I would say my number 1 piece of advice, G, would be build yourself a schedule, because the only thing worse than going through a heartbreak is going through a heartbreak and then not getting anything done while you're in the heartbreak, okay? Whether you're a man or woman, it's so important that as you're feeling or healing through the situation, that you can look back, because time will heal you, that you can look back on the time you are going through heartbreak and still be able to say, but at the very least, my life is good or better now, because I feel good, I'm where I want to be, I'm in a good place, whatever the case, right? So you have to channel that heartbreak and that energy that you feel from heartbreak into something that then you will feel gratification for in the future, and you'll be happy that you spent that time doing that thing. If you go through heartbreak and you don't channel it into anything, 1, it'll make it a lot worse and more intense. And then number 2, you'll feel that much more miserable about yourself, because you'll feel like such a loser that the person left your life and then you have no life now. Okay, so that'll just make it 10 times worse. Larissa says, Tomisin, your advice has been so important to me while I navigate in the dating world after staying 3 years alone by choice. I'm glad, Larissa, that you are using this advice to make yourself smarter in the dating world. And then it also makes you a lot more confident as well. Because when you go out on your dates, and guys are telling you things, or you're interacting with them, or they're texting you certain things, or, you know, just saying certain things to you, you're like, oh no, I know what that is. I know what you're trying to do. I understand what you're trying to do. I understand this game. I understand this interaction, right? And so you become more confident because you don't feel like you're walking blind, right? And everything that he does or says, you're like, I don't know what that means. What is this supposed to mean? How do I go about this, right? You always feel like you have the answers, which is a very good thing about that.
Who the F did I marry? Part 1. Okay, I think we need to start like with context, okay? And it's so hard because there's so much to say. I don't even know exactly how to go about this, so I'm hoping to like be as eloquent and as clear as I can. Well, also, I mean, we might not be on good terms. In fact, we're on terrible terms, but I am going to try and respect privacy to some degree. And I'm only going to talk about things that I know for a fact. There's a lot of speculation. There's a lot of like, I'm not entirely certain everything that went into this entire experience. So I'm going to talk on facts and facts only when that is truly just scratching the surface on what happened. But yeah, there's so much to this. I'm going to try and tell it. And I want to be clear that my number one goal and my number one hope from talking about my story and my experience is like, I want to be hopefully a voice for girls who find themselves in similar situations. I personally didn't grow up around family members or anyone that had experienced divorce, and I'm so lucky and so blessed. Like, my parents are still together, my grandparents are still together, and when I found myself faced with a divorce, I was like so shocked and I didn't know what to do. And when I found myself in a marriage that was like unsafe and abusive, I just genuinely didn't know what to do. And so my hope is that like if you find yourself in a similar situation, whether it be like someone you're talking to, someone you're dating, someone you're married to, like I just want you to know like there's resources, there's people who have been through what you're going through, and you're gonna be okay. And so yes, it's fun to talk about the drama, it's fun to talk about the tea, but I think at its core it's really important to talk
Yes, you're right. It is fun to talk about the tea. Let's go.
About like healthy habits within relationships. I've always wanted my story hopefully to be such a pattern, maybe not pattern, but like such an example of like, okay, maybe we could have avoided this, maybe not, but like let's all learn what a healthy relationship should look like. Let's learn the steps that should be taken as you're entering a relationship, and then let's hopefully find ourselves in happy, healthy relationships.
I'm a little bit confused. The way that she's talking, it's like she really understands it. You know, like it doesn't seem like she's not talking as if someone who has no awareness or relationship experience. So that's quite interesting. I wonder how she found herself in this position.
And that's not to say it's your fault if you're in an unhealthy relationship. That's just to say like, I hope to be a voice to be like, hey, like this is what it should look like. And anyway, so now I'm rambling, but let's get into it. Let's talk about my divorce. I think the best place to start is how we met. So I met my ex in high school. He asked me to homecoming our senior year of high school, and I was actually sad when he asked me. I cried because I wanted a different boy. I wanted a boy on the football team to ask me to homecoming, and my ex asked me first. But that was the start of it, and we like genuinely just clicked, and I was like, oh my gosh, he's so sweet. And he was like the sweet boy. Like everyone thought he was so cute and so sweet. He was like a little bit shy, but like he was just like such
okay, no, I don't want to project my own wrongness on the situation. Just a quick question. When girls say over and over, he was just so sweet, does that mean I secretly didn't like him, but like I wanted to like him because there wasn't anything super wrong about him? I just wasn't super into him. Is that what that secretly means? Or do you girls, when you say that, do you really just mean he's just sweet? Because I feel like saying he's really, really sweet over and over again is compensation for something. Maybe I'm tripping.
A good guy. He knew that high chews were my favorite, so he'd pick out the mango ones and bring me just mango high chews, and he'd write me notes, and he'd bring me flowers, and he'd come over to my house and do the dishes, and my family loved him. So we were 17 when we started dating, and we dated our entire senior year of high school. And honestly, like it was so great, and I adored him, and it was so fun. We did everything together. We were attached at the hip, and all my friends loved him, and like truly there's like nothing to report on. It was honestly so great, and I loved like that entire aspect of our relationship. Okay, I feel like this one's already getting so long, so I'm gonna try and kind of like wrap up this part of the relationship, and then hopefully I'll do another part kind of getting into more of like getting married, engaged, and then more of the drama. But When we were in high school, like there was really, and I guess this wasn't in high school, so we graduated. We're from a very, very religious community. We're members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And we knew that like he was going to go serve an LDS mission. He postponed that and he waited a little while. He waited 6 months and I went to college. I moved in with my best friends. He stayed in our hometown, which was about 40 minutes away, and he would come see me almost every single day. I knew he was going to go on a mission. So it was kind of like, it was a little more casual at this point, knowing that we'd probably be spending 2 years apart. And that's very normal in our culture and in where we're from. And a lot of people on the internet see things about our faith and about our religion. So you've probably seen like the missionary girlfriends like welcoming their boyfriends home. That was us. Spoiler. But yeah, so when I was in college, the only red flag and the very first red flag that I think I saw in that relationship was that my freshman year, he and I think we got in a fight one night and I don't remember what it was about. And he started hitting up my roommate. Like one of my best friends, it was like 3 a.m. He would text her and be like, hi. And we ended up breaking up over that because I said, we're not doing that. You are not reaching out to my friend. And to be fair, like I don't think she knew, and she's one of my great friends to this day. And she was very
I'm assuming she's going to tell us the context of reaching out to her roommate, but why did he even have your roommate's number? What was your roommate texting? Let's see.
She handled it very well, but it was him reaching out to her, him being like, oh, we're just friends. And I'm like, okay, well, if you're texting my roommate who's in a room over at 3 a.m. trying to just build a friendship when we're not talking and we're in a fight, bad juju. And I'm like, we're 18 at this point, we're just kids, you're leaving on a mission, like maybe this isn't the best thing. But that was red flag number 1, where he starts reaching out to other women when we're fighting. Okay, we're gonna see that pattern later on in the story, but I feel like that's like good contextually to understand the basis. And then this is getting so long, so I'm gonna do a part 2 and we're gonna talk about leaving on missions, being on missions, coming home, getting engaged, and getting married. There's so much, and I'm so sorry to make a part 2 make you wait, but come back for part 2 and we're gonna get into more of the drama. Okay, we're back, and it is part 2 of Who Did I Marry? So, recapping, we were 17 when we met in high school. We went to homecoming together. We come from a super religious community, which plays a really important part in this. We're both super religious. Yeah, we dated for a while. So at this point, we've been dating for about a year. I'm at college. He's about to leave on a mission. Okay, so we are at college about a year and a half into us dating. He receives a mission call to go serve a mission for 2 years for our church. And
so from my understanding, a mission call is not like she's not talking about like deploying to the army. She's talking about like, so for the church, they will go and just do things like, I think they're trying to bring more like win more souls. And so I think they'll go to a specific location and like congregate there and try to like win souls and bring them to the church that way. On like, it's almost like a business trip, but for the purpose of the church. That's the whole idea, is from my understanding.
He gets that call, and I know that we have, I don't remember how long we had until he left, but he left 6 months into my first year of college. So my freshman year at college, he left that winter around Christmas time. And I got my mission call shortly after, and I left in August. So that 6 months between when he left and until I was leaving on my mission, I like dated around. And after he had been gone for a few weeks, I had sent him an email, because that's the only way that you can communicate with them while they're on their missions. And I sent him an email and I was like, hey, we're not really gonna date, like, and I think we'll still write, we'll be in touch, but 2 years is a long time, and I want personally to be able to go on dates and do things to make sure that like if we come home and things work out, that it was the right thing. So this is important. This is my only dating experience I've ever had, was that 6 months. And I didn't really go on that many dates because I still cared about him, and we were still writing each other every month. And I had a mission call, knowing that I was going to be leaving for 18.
So we're already we're like a couple minutes in, and we're already in confusion town from the standpoint of, you know, as much as I understand her situation, this is one of the points that we can learn from. Having your love life especially be, having an abundance of gray area is very dangerous, especially for the success of your love life, and then also for your well-being, because when there's so much gray area, it's very difficult to understand what's okay and what's not okay. When you get to a place where you're attached to someone, but you can't hold them accountable because you're not in a relationship, but you kind of still like them, so it's kind of a relationship, but only when you see them, and that confusion in that gray area, it just builds and builds and builds, and then it causes a whole mess a lot of the times and a whole lot of drama, right? So it's just something where when you get to a point where you realize with someone, I don't think we can be in a relationship, the best thing for you to do is to not be in a relationship at all. Don't try to turn it into a situationship or a best friendship or a whatever ship. Just end it.
Months. So I left. I served my mission in Portugal. I loved it. I came home right before he did. And this was another part of it where I was like, there wasn't anything wrong, and really nothing had happened while we were gone because there's very little communication. But I felt I was like, I don't know what's gonna happen, and I'm excited to see him and all these things. He comes home, and we click right away again. And I remember him being like, hey, I'm gonna take a year and live with my friends and go do things and we can see where things go. And I was kind of like, you know what, like, that's awesome. If your focus is your friends, then let your focus be your friends, and like we can break up. I'm not really wanting to like let you just go be like a guy's guy while I'm like sitting and waiting for you to decide if you want to like date me or marry me. Again, we're from a super religious community. We were really young. We're 20 at this point. And we had that conversation, and then he came back and was like, no, like I want to get married. And I said, okay. So we dated for a few months and we got engaged really quickly. Again, like it's so normal in Utah. And we were engaged for almost 6 months, which is actually a long engagement for Utah and for young couples. And we got married in July of 2019. And so that would mean if we had stayed married, we would have been married for 5 years now. But we got married in July of 2019. Who did I marry? Part 3. Okay, so at this point, we are married. Now, it's important to understand kind of this timeline as well. We were living with a family that I was nannying for. And we were going to school full-time, we were working full-time, and we'd been married for 3 weeks when we had gone camping, and I opened up his camera roll and found extremely explicit pornography on his phone. And he told me that he had WhatsApp and someone had sent him a spam message, but there's a setting on that app where pictures will automatically download to your camera roll, and that must be what it was. And I was kind of like, okay.
Let me talk about something from a guy's perspective, okay? Because some of you might be like, what's going on here? I'm not gonna. I understand, you know, men watch porn. Let's just be real. Not all men, but a lot of men do. So that in itself, I'm not gonna say that that's a crime. The part that I will acknowledge, even as a man, is strange. The saving it to your camera roll, it strikes me as borderline addiction. You know what I mean? Because I know my own guy friends. Seldom do any of them, from at least my knowledge, are saving things that they watch to their camera roll. That's not regular behavior there, you know, because you're gonna show. I don't want my phone to be like a bomb where if I hand it to someone, I'm like sweating profusely. I'm like, oh my God, don't go to the, like, it can't be that, you know what I mean? Even if you might have a couple of pictures here and there, it shouldn't be that explicit where it's like crazy stuff on the front of your camera roll, hundreds of pictures. To me, that's quite strange behavior. So I just want to, you know, preface that because I know some of you are thinking, well, do guys do? No, that's not a regular guy thing. To have it on your camera roll, why? Just go and watch it and wank yourself off, bust a nut, and then move on with your life. That's weird.
Okay. But it like didn't really sit right with me. We had talked about pornography, and again, I know pornography isn't a big deal to some people, but within our religious community, I
forgot that they're so religious. He just went on a 2-year mission. That's strange. It even slipped my mind. There are she said members of the Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. She said a long name. That's okay. That we're getting in super weird territory now. Okay.
Our upbringing within our marriage and the bounds we'd set for our marriage, that was an absolute no. And that proceeded, or kind of pushed me to have a conversation a few weeks later to be like, hey, look, like, we've talked about this before, but like, do you have a porn problem? And he said no. And I said, okay, do you have a porn problem? He said no. And I said, Kevin, ask you one more time. Do you have a porn problem? And he said no. And I said, okay, well, I hope you know that if you do, or if that's ever an issue or has been an issue, like, you can come to me and talk to me about it. And at that point, he admitted that he had in the past had a pornography problem, but it wasn't an issue. And I remember being like, why don't you tell me that I've asked you about this? Like, you lied. Like, I'm not even mad about how in the past you had a porn problem. I'm talking about, like, the fact that you are, like, lying about that and that you've lied to me, our whole relationship about that. So that was instance number 1. And that kind of led me to being like, what is happening? And even like the day we got married, I remember just thinking like, okay, like he knows what he's doing. I don't. We both saved ourselves for marriage. We both had never been exposed really to sex, pornography, anything. We'd never done anything. We'd never crossed any boundaries. We'd saved ourselves for marriage, like I said. And I remember thinking, how is it that he knows what he's doing and is so comfortable? And I'm so like, what's going on? Like this was all very new to me. So all those pieces kind of like, I'm like, okay, all right, but I believe him. He's my husband, right? It was like 9 months into us being married. We'd kind of moved on. We were living in an apartment at this point. One day I came home and I opened the bathroom door and he was engaging in some level of sexual activity with his phone out. I don't know if he was Snapchatting someone on the phone with someone. I don't know. Because my reaction is I opened the door and I looked to see what was happening and I closed the door and I walked away. And when I brought it up to him later, his response was, what are you talking about?
What? Why? It's your husband. Why? Okay. Am I tripping? I'm tripping? Did she not? You walk in on the bathroom with your husband with his pee-pee out hard, erect? You're his wife. He's erect in the bathroom with his phone out, and you're not going to question what's going on here? You're his wife. What? Am I living in am I in the Twilight Zone? What's going on? Well, let me see.
phone out. I don't know if he was Snapchatting someone on the phone with someone or not. I don't know. Because my reaction is I opened the door and I looked to see what was happening and I closed the door and I walked away. And when I brought it up to him later, his response was, "What are you talking about? That never happened. I have no idea what you're talking about." And I was like, "I literally saw you." And he was like, "No, what are you talking about? You're making that up. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. You're always constantly looking for a problem. We've talked about this. Like, why are you looking for an issue? Why are you trying to create an issue?" And I was like, oh my gosh, like, you're right. Like, I must be looking for an issue.
I'm confused. Is he wanking so profusely that he's not even aware of his surroundings? I'm really confused. How did you walk in on the bathroom with him wanking himself, or he's hard at least, phone out, doing something with the phone? He doesn't even realize you're there? I'm confused. Like, he didn't even look in your direct. Is he that focused on his wank material? He can't even pull himself out of the. This is quite strange.
So that was kind of like, I guess, red flag number 2. And I was 9 months into us being married. And then kind of like moving forward from this point, like, the other piece I couldn't quite put together is that he just could never seem to follow through on things. Like, I'd ask him to do something and he would forget, or like he couldn't keep a job. Like, he'd been let go from every job that he had, and he could never hit quota. He worked in sales. He never was making the money he said he was making, and like he would tell me one thing and then it like wouldn't really add up. And I was like, okay, we were both full-time students, going to school full-time. I was going to school full-time. I work as a wedding videographer, and I started shooting weddings at this point. It went really well. I was fortunate to be pretty successful off the bat, and I was lucky enough to be able to provide for us financially. And I remember thinking, like, he's in school, he's like working on figuring out a career. We're so young, like, it's so cool that I can provide.
Oh no, this is a cooked situation. Oh my God, this is cooked. This is so cooked. So he's not even making any money. You're making all the money. He's spending your money. And oh no, I just thought of something. Oh, I hope this isn't happening. I just thought of, the idle mind is the devil's playground. He's in school, right? But he's not making any money. No real response. I'm worried. She's making the money, right? Obviously, he's going to have to get broken off some because he's going to say, oh, I need to get this. I need to get food. I need to have some. I'm worried. He's taking the money and then he's paying for OF stars, okay? Corn stars, right? OF people. He's subscribing to OF people, sending them money, cash apping them. I'm worried now because this sounds
financially for us. And I ended up being able to buy us a house in 2020. The end of 2020, we bought our first house. We moved up to where we grew up, so we lived close to both of our parents. And it's kind of the same thing that, like, you just never would follow through. Jobs just weren't working. But I was able to work and provide for us financially. Who did I marry? Part 4. So kind of like really genuinely, like, the first 2 years of us being married was just kind of this, where I was like, this isn't really what I had pictured. But nothing like divorce, breaking up, never crossed my mind. We never fought, really. I mean, we got along so well. And I think that's something that's so hard when people talk about relationships as a whole, where, like, the relationship is usually pretty good, right? Like, you marry that person for a reason, you date that person for a reason. Every relationship is going to have its things. And I remember we were very much the couple that, like, I mean, people would tell us all the time, like, you guys are, like, so great, and I want a marriage like yours. And I was like, yeah, marriage is so great. And again, we had things, and I think if I were in the same relationship now, I would probably view it a little bit differently, because I would recognize things differently for what they were, versus, like, I just don't even think I had the maturity or the emotional capacity to even be able to really recognize some of the things that were going on. But overall, life was, like, okay. There would be little things that would pop up here and there. I could never quite grasp, like, he was kind of a spender with our money. And that was, like, another thing, especially, like, I was very...
Chat, it's a skill. It's a skill. It's like it's a sixth sense. It's a spidey sense, I like to call it. I can smell it. I can smell it. When you hear a lot of these stories, you help a lot of people, you can smell it. I can feel it in my bones, okay? We haven't got there yet, but she's getting closer to my theory, which is that he's spending this money on OF people, and the videos on the camera roll are OF people that he's given, or some version of that, where he's given the money away to people online, and they're sending him illicit pictures and things like that. That's what's on the phone, and he's using her money to facilitate that.
Money conscious. I felt a lot of anxiety towards money and towards the finances, and so I said, I want you to run all the finances. Like, I'll bring the money in, but I just need you to pay the bills and do things. And don't do that, girls. Like, you should always, like, learn how to manage the money.
You made the money, and then you let him manage it. Yeah.
Learn how to manage your own money. Know what's in your bank account. I think this would have been a really, really important piece for me moving on in the story. But it was things like he started to get really invested in hunting and in hunting season. And so he would be gone a lot on the weekends to go scouting and to go hunting. And he would buy things, which then kind of became a source of, like, contention. Because I was like, you're spending a lot of money. And, like, it's not like my money was his money, but it's like, if I'm bringing the money in, like,
and I feel like I need permission to ask to buy a new shirt, but you're spending hundreds of dollars on hunting gear. Like, I think we need to reevaluate. Like, let's make a budget. Let's do this. And it's kind of the same issue. Like, it just like wouldn't follow through. And I was like, okay, like we're just learning and we're figuring it out.
You're asking him to spend your own money?
But I felt so much stress financially that I began to take on such a workload that I developed pretty crippling anxiety. I like lost a ton of weight. There were a couple times I'd call my parents in like the middle of the night and I'd be like, I'm having a heart attack, like I'm panicking, and I'd be like, I need you to come talk to me, I need you to calm me down. And my parents were so worried about me. And keep in mind, again, my ex-husband was very attentive during this time, and he was like, you're so great, and he was really validating. But anytime a fight came up, anytime anything came up, or like anytime he felt like he was being,
I mean, of course you're so great. You're making all the money. That's great. He gets to sit at home and spend it. That you are great. He's actually not lying. You are so great. That's actually not a lie. It's the truth.
blamed for like just anytime it felt hard, you know, he'd get so defensive, and I just was like, I'm not blaming you, it's just sometimes life is hard and things are hard. And anyway, so it really kind of took a turn with like within the last 6 months of us being married, and I just could not figure out why it felt so hard. And I, as a person, felt like I began to deteriorate. Like my just mental well-being was the worst it's ever been in my life. And I'll see if I can find a picture, like you can see how unwell I look. And this is where it gets good, you guys. We were getting ready to go on a family trip. It was this was 2021, 22, 21, November. I'm like getting off on my dates, I don't remember. I think it was 21, and we put off a lot of family trips because of COVID. We were gonna go back and visit my mission in Portugal. We had a family trip to Hawaii get postponed, and then a family trip with my family to Mexico. Just kind of things been postponed through 2020. They all ended up within like a month of each other, and I was like, great. So I like went on some of these trips, and it was great. And I went on this girls trip to Hawaii. It was a work trip, and I remember being there, and one of the girls there was going through a divorce, and she followed me on here, so if you know who you are, hi, and I love you. But I remember thinking on that trip, like if I ever get divorced, like something horrible is gonna have to happen. But while I was on that trip and I was gone for 4 days, I remember he just like didn't really talk to me. And he's like, I'm so sick. So I like DoorDash groceries to our house, and he wasn't really talking to me, and it was just like super weird. And I just was like, what is happening? And when I got home, like I had asked for like 3 things for Christmas. One was like a ring, very similar to like this, but like that had like our initials on it, just like a gold ring, and like a shirt that I wanted. And those are the only things I wanted for Christmas. It was November, and he like had those sitting out for me, and I was like, what is happening? He's like, and I made you dinner, and I cleaned the house, and I got these gifts for you. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that's so nice. That's so nice. Why? Like you didn't talk to me the whole time you were gone, and now I remember thinking like he's love bombing me. Like what happened while I was gone? And it was so weird. So then it was like, I think we had 3, 4, 5 days between me getting home from that trip and me going on a family trip to Mexico. And we were getting ready to go and packing up, and I was cleaning up our kitchen, and I was like, hey, I saw someone post on social media today that like they were going through midterms, like, cause again, we're full-time students. I graduated at this point, he was still in school. And I was like, hey, are you in midterms? Like, are you supposed to be in school? And he was like, oh, no, don't worry about it. I've been taken care of. And I was like, okay. And then I made a comment, I said, you know what, sometimes I swear you're not even in school. And he's like, yeah, goes outside. A couple minutes pass, and he comes back in, and he's like, hey, you know what? That comment you made, like, it's probably about time I tell you, like, I haven't been in school. Like, I haven't been in school.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. So, someone just said in the chat, what has he been doing? We always say, an idle mind is the devil's playground. This is the worst. This is like man poison. Man poison is for a man to have no job, no career, no school, nothing that requires him to be responsible, reliable, to show up on time. That is literally man poison, because for men, that is the moment that they start, your mind and your energy has to go somewhere. They start exploring all these twisted things. They start looking at weird stuff. They start exploring weird stuff. They get weird. They get strange very fast when men don't have stuff to do. This is what men need: jobs. They need jobs. They need direction. Men without direction are very dangerous. They get into some very nefarious activities. Okay, and this is why I knew it. I had it in my mind. I'm like, this is a man with no direction, and this is even worse now because he's being enabled, right? So he has money, and access with the money, but no direction. So he's reaping the benefits of having a job because he has a place to live and then he has money to spend. But then he's also not having to be responsible to earn that money. At least if you want to be a degenerate, you have to be responsible enough as a degenerate to wake up in the morning, go to work, get work done, be a semi-productive member of society. You can't be in total degeneracy. But when someone else is paying for your lifestyle, literally paying for your lifestyle, right, and the money's coming in, it makes the degeneracy even worse, because now you don't have any balance or dichotomy to be like, okay, well, now I have to be productive. I still have to wake up in the morning. I still have to do this. He gets to do whatever. So this is going to get dark. I'm sure this is going to get very dark very fast.
For over a year. And I immediately was like, wait, what? Because I remember we applied for like scholarships, and then like I started making enough money that we wouldn't really qualify for that anymore. So I started like paying for his schooling, and there was like a textbook on my counter, and my mom had helped him plan out his classes for the next semester, like previously. And he was telling me about a Spanish literature class, and he would go into Zoom classes. And I was like, what do you mean you're not in school? And I remember so distinctly, I was standing at the kitchen counter, and I just like looked at him and I turned listening off, and I said, what else are you lying about? Like, let's have a chat. What else are you lying about? Who did I marry? Part 5. Okay, I hope you guys are along for the ride, because I told you this could be kind of long, but we are just now kind of getting into the nitty gritty, like, shock factor of this whole story. So, last video, we ended with me telling you that my husband had been lying to me about him being in school. And like, it had been a top of a conversation.
For a year. 1 year. He's been doing nothing with her money.
Told me, hey, I think I want to drop out. And I was like, I mean, I support you, but like, I was pretty adamant. I wanted him to finish. He'd already done a few years of school. We had like the money, the means, and the time. And because I was like financially providing, I was like, you can put a lot of energy into school. You can just crank it out, go year round, do summer semester, just like get it done. Like, it's going to be so like, maybe you'll use it, maybe you won't. But I'm like, I think you have the opportunity. Like, you should take it. You have that privilege. Take it. So he comes in, he tells me, hey, I'm not in school. And my response was, okay, what else are you lying about? We sit down on the couch, and I remember just watching his entire demeanor change, and I had never seen him like this. Like, he became like an entire other person right in front of my eyes, and he started freaking out, and he was like, well, why would you say I'm lying? And I was like, hey, look, you have got to be lying. And it's just like all these little things that have been adding up over time, and I was like, you're lying to me. Like, let's talk. Let's have a legitimate conversation. And he, after me pushing, it would take me 20, 30 times being like, what else are you lying about? What else are you lying about? What else are you lying about? And he was like, okay, well, like at this time he was working as an insurance agent, and he actually, the way insurance works is like, it was like technically his own business, like registered as his own business, but it's under the umbrella of someone else's business. And it just so happened that business was my uncle's. And I guess my uncle had approached my dad a few weeks earlier and been like, hey, like, he's not really showing up to work. Like, are they okay? Is everything okay? And they had decided to stay out of it because my parents are pretty hands off, and they're like, they can deal with it, they can handle their things. I know they're busy, I know they're traveling, but it was like he should have been at work, and he just like wasn't there, and like wasn't showing.
So basically, a whole day goes by, no work, no responsibilities, no school, just time on his hands. I wonder what he's getting in. Chat, let's come up with some theories. What is he getting into in this? You're up for what, 18 hours? He's up for 18 hours a day, no responsibilities. What do you think he's getting into?
Up, he was not hitting the money he was supposed to hit. He was not putting in the hours he was supposed to put in. And my uncle had kind of told my dad, and I guess my uncle had told my husband, like, hey, like, you've been here long enough, you've been here like enough time, it's kind of time for you to like move out from the umbrella of his business and into your own thing. And my ex-husband had just never like addressed that, never done anything about it, and never told me that. I had no idea. So he'd been lying about being in school. He'd been lying about a job situation. He like wasn't really working. He was not bringing any money in. And again, in a previous video, I had mentioned how I was so stressed about finances that I told him to manage it. And again, I know I said it in the other video too. Girls, it sucks. It's hard. You can do it. You are smart and you are capable. You can manage your finances, and you do not need a man to do that. And I wish so badly I would have just been like, this sucks and this is hard for me, but I'm going to manage it. It would have saved me a lot of heartache. And we'll get to that also down the line. But yeah, so that night, I remember just sitting there, and I was like, what else? What else? What else? What else? And he just started freaking out. He was like inconsolable. He was pulling his hair out. And I didn't know what else to do. We were supposed to be leaving in 12 hours for a family trip with my parents. And while I don't necessarily approve of you running to your parents when something's hard in your marriage, I didn't know what else to do. And so I said, I'm going to go to my parents' house. I just need to tell them what's happening because I don't think we're going to go on this trip. Like, anyway, I drove over to my parents' house, and I said, hey, like, I just found out these 2 things about work and school, about my husband, and I don't know what to do. And they were like, my parents loved him, and they were like, are you sure? Like, are you overreacting? And the joke in our family was I might have already said this, I don't know, but if we got divorced, like, they would adopt him and disown me. And I was like, I don't know what to do. And I remember that was the first time.
That's so funny.
I thought, I was like, I'm gonna divorce him. And then I was so shocked and sick over it. I was like, well, no, like, I don't know what's going on. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. He followed me to my parents' house. He showed up to my parents' house that night. We kind of all sat down and have a conversation. My parents were like, are you okay? Like, what is going on? Like, are you okay? And he was like, yeah, I'm sorry. I should have been better. And again, I'm not saying this was the right choice, but what I chose to do is I chose to go on the family trip and have him stay home so that we could have time apart, and so that we could think about what we wanted and come back and have a more productive conversation, because emotions were so high. And so I left my parents' house, and on the way out, my mom, my cutie mom, she's the hero of this story, she grabbed his arm and she said, hey, feels like there might be things you're not telling her still, and I promise you, like, if there's something else you need to tell her now, tell her now. Mama Stone is a queen, okay? So he comes home and he goes, hey, there's more I need to tell you. And I was like, okay. And he goes, I am addicted to pornography. And I said, okay. what does that mean? And he goes, and again, let's remember, I had asked him multiple times, and I said, if you have a porn problem, I need you to tell me, we need to talk about it, we can fix it, you're not in trouble, it's gonna be fine. Nope. I said, okay, what does that mean? It means, at this point, what he told me was that he spent hours every day on the internet, on different websites, scouring different places and different websites to engage in video chats with people, just consuming porn as well, just normal porn consumption.
Sick of pause here. I don't want her to gloss over something and then you think that, okay, yeah, that makes sense, and it doesn't. Let me tell you, I'm a man, okay? There's the men who have discipline, are in control, and then there's the men who are out of control, okay? Just in reality. Us men who are in control, if watch your corn, wank yourself off, go about your business in your day. Okay, that's how if you're gonna do that, that's how the men who like have some sense, that's how they do it. Okay, you watch it, you wank yourself off, and then you go about your business. I'm telling you this right now, so none of you are confused in the future. Okay, and whenever you meet a man, they're trying to explain it away and explain it in a weird way. Okay, if a guy is on video chat with a cam girl talking to her, oh, you know, we chat sometimes and we get on webcam, and that's how. That is not how regular men consume corn. Okay? That's not how we do it. I'm telling you this, okay? The regular men, if they're going to consume corn, they watch it, they wank, they go about their business. Having a video chat with a cam girl is not going about your business. You're wasting time. Time is money, okay? The people that have somewhere to be and have things to do, the men at least, they are not sitting around on webcam chit-chatting with these girls, okay? None of these girls want you. None of these girls are trying to be in a relationship with you. All of these girls are having you live in a fantasy. They're doing it for money. You are wasting heaps of time and energy if you're sitting on a cam with a girl. Wank and go to work. So this, I'm just letting you guys know, if you hear this from a man and he's trying to explain it in a way that sounds very innocent, it's not innocent. Disciplined men with sense do not get on webcam with girls. Okay? Waste of time. Absolute waste of time.
But that it was a full-blown addiction. Now, post-divorce, I've gone to therapy almost every week since my divorce. Even 2.5 years later, I still go. But one of those therapists told me, she said there's a difference between porn usage, habitual use, and addiction. And it's important to make that distinction. Not that I think any are great, personally, that's a personal belief, but his was a full-blown, all-consuming addiction. Hours every day. And so then pieces started to fall into place of what that meant. So those two experiences I shared in a previous video of him.
Like I said, watch, wank, work. Those 3 W's. Watch, wank, work. It's nothing more, nothing less. You don't need to do a bunch of extra stuff. Chit-chatting, no.
Engaging in sexual conduct on the phone with someone else. I said, hey, remember when you told me you didn't know that I made that up? Were you like having a video call with somebody? Yes. Okay. So that time I found porn on your phone 3 weeks into us being married. Yep, that was my porn. That's porn I'd saved to the phone. I said, okay, awesome. So this is like a whole web of lies then. All of these different things that we've uncovered, all these conversations you've had, the tens of hundreds possibly conversations you've had about this. You lied to me every single time. So now let's remember, now it's school and it's work and it's porn. And I just was like, okay, I don't know what to do. I was 23 at this point. I was 23 years old. And I packed, finished packing up my stuff, and I said, let's take a week apart. Let's think about it. Let's talk about it. We'll talk when I get home. I love you. We're going to be okay. And I want to be clear. I don't know how I did it at the time. I don't know if I could do it now, but I was so kind. And I just said, it's okay, like, we're gonna figure it out, like, it's gonna be okay, but, like, we gotta take some space, we gotta figure things out. Who did I marry? Part 6. Okay, guys, I mean, I guess we're still going. This is the part of the story where I'm not even really sure, like, it gets so messy. So, like I said in my first video, I'm gonna stick to what I have factual evidence and proof of, and while that is just scratching the surface, that is, it's just the easiest way to tell the story, and then, you know, we'll see. We'll go from there. So, at this point, I told him, you know what, I'm gonna go back to my parents' house, I'm gonna sleep there, and, like, we're good. I mean, as good as we can be, but, like, I'm gonna go on the strip, we'll talk when I get home. So that night, I'm up to, like, 3 a.m. with my mom, just talking, and I'm, like, I literally couldn't sleep. I couldn't function. I felt like my whole life had been turned upside down.
Sorry, 1 second, chat. Why even leave him alone? You can't. Okay, so something to note here, right? Like, the man just admitted to you that he has a corn addiction. Why are we leaving this man alone? We know what the first thing you think if he has a house to himself with the corn addiction, he's going to be like, oh yeah, I admitted it now, so it's all over. I'm chilling now. I'm fine. No, he has a corn addiction. He's probably going to now sit in the living room, put it on the 50-inch TV while he's webcamming the girl, PP out, wanking himself until he's blue in the face. We can't leave the addict at home with Wi-Fi, big screen TV, HD TVs, a bunch of cameras, and money and a credit card. You can't leave the addict with the paraphernalia. That don't make no damn sense. That don't make not a damn bit of sense.
I kind of mentioned in one of the other videos, like, there were textbooks on my counter, you guys. Like, people always ask me. People literally, I tell them my story, and they're like, how did you not know? One, I was naive. I'll admit that all day long. I could not fathom someone doing that to me. Two, there were textbooks on my counter. There were Zoom meetings, like, that he was going into for school, and that's how I didn't know. The porn stuff, I was gone a lot. My job requires me to work a lot. I'm gone a lot of the weekends. I shoot a lot of weddings out of Utah, so I'm gone a lot. It gives him a lot of opportunities to be alone and do things. I said in another video, he was really into hunting.
Why'd she say that like that? Why'd she say that like that? Sorry, I pick up on everything to her. Why'd she say that like that?
So I'm gone a lot. It gives him a lot of opportunities to be alone and do things. I said in another video, he was really into hunting.
Why'd she say that like that, chat? Why she... Gives me a lot of opportunities to be alone and do... Why'd she say that like that? Okay.
Hunting a ton. And that was contentious for me. Like, the weekends I'd be home not shooting a wedding. He's like, I gotta go hunting. And I'm like, I have not seen you, I feel like, in months. And I remember thinking, I had a wedding on October 2nd. And I remember thinking, if I can get to October 2nd, everything will be okay. And I remember just counting down the days, because it was kind of like my last big, like, wedding for the year. And the day that everything happened was November 17th. And I looked it up. It was 2021, November 17th, 2021. So I leave on that trip with my family. And we had a Ring doorbell camera on our front door. And we had a single security camera that overlooked, like, our living room and kitchen. And I don't know. I just, like, in my gut felt so weird. I had his location. The location never left our house literally all week, which means he didn't go to work the entire week that I was gone. He's like, I promise I'm gonna go to work. Julie's gonna make it up to you. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna go to therapy. Okay. Did not leave the house one time. But, like, some of his birthday and...
Oh my God, he's cooked. He spent 1 week in the house with Wi-Fi and big screen TVs and cameras. Oh my, and a credit card. Oh my God, he's cooked. I don't know if she understands what she's actually doing. Like, she's enabling the addict, and then she's leaving him alone to literally OD. He's gonna, like, he's empty. By the time you come back from your 1 week vacation, he'll be drained. He'll literally have, like, wanked himself into a coma. Why would she leave him alone?
And Christmas were both coming up, and I remember, like, the packages starting coming in, and I watched him open the presents, like, through our security camera at the house, and I was like, why? He knows those are his birthday presents. Why is he opening them? Whatever, okay, that's not important. But I really did religiously watch that camera. We're on the beach in Mexico, and I'm, like, watching the security camera like it's my full-time job. And of all the clips of him, I don't know how this one even caught my attention, but he was sitting on the couch. He pulled out his phone. He looks at it. He walks up to the mirror in our living room. He does a peace sign. He X's out. He takes another picture, flips the camera, takes another picture, and then walks into the bedroom. Now, we always joke about, like, the internet sleuth girlies on the internet, the internet sleuth girlies on the internet. But you know what I mean. Like, we can find anything out. Through analyzing that video nonstop, I recognized that as Snapchat, which we'd agreed we would not have Snapchat in our marriage. And I knew that was Snapchat. I knew it was. And so I kind of held on to that. I didn't really say anything, but I mentioned it to my parents. And I'm kind of like a one-track mind girl. And I was like, what is this video? What does this mean? What does this mean? What does this mean? Meanwhile, while I was in Mexico, there's only so much you can do from out of the country. I froze all of our bank accounts. I froze everything. I changed passwords on everything. I just, like, knew. It was like precautions I started taking, knowing that, like, I was scared he was going to take all the money and leave. Things just got so weird in that interaction the night before. And anyway, so I'm showing my family this video, and my little brother, he was like 16 at the time. He's the only one in the family that has Snapchat, and he goes, oh, are you talking about Snapchat? Are you talking about so-and-so having Snapchat? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, well, actually, I'm going to find a screenshot of this too. I said this in the last video, but where he had gotten a notification saying your contact, and then my ex-husband's name is on Snapchat under the username, and the username was a woman's name. And my little brother thought that was super weird. Now, this little boy he's not even little anymore, does not register anything. He has no idea anything going on, ever. I'm pretty sure I heard him speak 3 words up until this point.
Oh, I see what's happening, because the cousin has her ex-husband's number. When you have someone's number and they have a Snapchat account with that number that they registered on that username, it'll show you on Snapchat people that you can add that you have their number in the phone. So the number in the phone was registered to a Snapchat name that was saved under a girl's name. That was what he was operating under. That's just as twisted.
Of his life. And I'm like, wait, really? He's like, yeah, I actually texted him. And I was like, you like registered that and then confronted him and didn't tell me? He's like, yeah, I don't know. So he pulls up this conversation with my ex-husband, and it says, hey, are you on Snapchat? My ex-husband says, no, why? And he goes, well, I just got this notification, sends a screenshot. He goes, that's so weird. I must have been hacked. And my little brother goes, yeah, I don't know. So it turns out, though, like, you know, Snapchat is connected to your phone number. So I pull up Snapchat. I haven't had it on my phone in yours, and I go through the whole process of opening my account. And I'm like, it is like the reason my little brother got that notification is because that account has to be verified through your phone number, which means that he went in, opened a Snapchat account or changed his Snapchat account, whatever, used his phone number to verify it, and then changed it to a woman's name, which that does not bode well for us, right? So I find that out while we're in Mexico, and I actually just sat on it. I just didn't really say anything about it, but it ate me alive, and I think I knew what that meant.
This can go so many different ways. I'm not sure which way it's gonna go now. Yeah, I'm not sure.
So I'm in Mexico, I'm doing that. I come home and I say, hey, let's have a conversation. I didn't feel comfortable being alone with him anymore, so my parents were present for that, and he came over the next day, and we had a sit-down conversation, voice recorded. I have a voice recording of every single thing in that conversation, which he gave approval for, saying that he would sign over the house to be fully in my name because he was on the signing documents, he was on the house, even though I paid for it. And then I said, okay, I need you to say, did you lie about school? Yes. Did you lie about work? Yes. Did you lie about this? Yes, 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 yes. Kind of giving myself like a security and insurance if this ever became an issue down the line. And that's when I told him, I said, hey, we're going to separate. And I didn't know for sure I was getting a divorce. I remember praying and being like, I feel like people won't, which this is so sad too. Like, as women understand this. Like, I remember thinking like, he didn't hit me. And to my knowledge, I mean, like porn, whatever, internet, people don't like consider that cheating. But like, he didn't cheat on me, and like, he didn't hit me. So like, people aren't going to justify this as enough of a reason to leave. Which is so sad and not true and not right. But anyway, I remember just thinking, okay, like, I'm just gonna take some time. I just need to like, and also I was in shock. Like, I just needed to like register what was happening. It'd been like 7 days at this point from me thinking I had a happy marriage to like my life was in shambles. And again, I have no.
Nobody's gonna judge you for leaving a corn addict. That's just like, it's embarrassing, and it's very like, it's very like, you're not even a man. Like you can't, like, there's a certain level of like, I get it. Like, as men, we all struggle with lust, but there's a certain point where it's like, bro, you gotta get life done. Like, you gotta be a man and like pick yourself up and just be like, yo, at the end of the day, I could bust a nut like later. I could bust a nut this week, and I could bust a nut at night. I have to get this work done. That's just how we operate. Like, real men, that's just how you have to understand it. I'll bust a nut later. Like, I gotta get this stuff done, and then I'll live good at the end of the day. Like, when you have an addiction to that point as a man, like, people can't even take you. No one's gonna think you're a bad woman for not being able to take a guy seriously who can't take himself seriously. Because at that point, it's like he's letting it ruin his life. That's not, nobody can respect that. Men can't even respect that.
I brought up the Snapchat video. But yeah, I told him we're going to separate. I need you to move out of the house, and we are going to proceed, and we're going to work through this as best as we can, and then we'll make a decision on what's going to be best for us. And he's like, I'm going to therapy. I'm going to do this. I want you back. I will do anything. I'll do anything. I'll do anything. I'll do anything. And I was like, can you show me then? Like, just show me. Who did I marry? Part 7. So I'm officially separated from my husband. I just literally never went back to my house. Like,
Someone said it's like, it's like no different than being a drug addict. It's a little bit different just from the standpoint for us as men. We all fight the battle of lust. Like, literally, like, that's the main thing that if you want to be successful as a man, you have to conquer is lust. And not that you'll never have it, you'll never battle with it or fight with it in your life once you conquer it. But it's something that, like, you on an ongoing basis, you have to be able to understand how to manage. So he's not the first man that has to battle lust in his life. That's why it's a little bit different, that version of an addiction, because, other men have to battle that too and conquer that, slay that demon, slay that dragon, so to speak, as well. Because if you give in to all of your desires of lust as a man, you'll have nothing. So that's something that all men realize when they start to wake up. But it's a choice, you know what I mean? As more so than it's just an addiction.
So traumatized by all of it, I made him move out, but I was staying at my parents' house. And I'm so lucky to have had them. And I know there's so many women who don't have that, and my heart breaks for you. I say it all the time that if I hadn't had the support system that I'd had, I think I would have crumbled. And also, it's like, this is a whole other can to open up, and like a conversation I do want to touch on. I don't think I could have left if I didn't have the support system that I'd had. Like, I just didn't even have the confidence or the understanding of reality of real life that, like, my life would go on. And I know so many women can resonate with that and understand that. My parents were amazing too, and they never told me what to do. I mean, if that were my kid, I'd be like, run, get out. My parents were just, what they said to me was, we don't want you to choose to stay and then have us tell you to leave and then you resent us, or vice versa. So they said, we support you 1,000% no matter what you do. You're sliding again, so sorry. We support you no matter what you do, no matter what you choose, but we want what's best for you. We want you to be happy. And again, I know not everybody has that either. And I think I'm so incredibly blessed and so lucky to have had that. And if that was not your experience, I want you to know, like, I feel for you, and you're amazing and you're incredible. But for about the next 3 weeks, I think I met with him 2 times. Both were supervised. I would not meet with him alone. I didn't think it was appropriate to do it with our parents, so we met with our bishop. And I know that might seem weird, especially to people who are not members of our faith, but a bishop can at times kind of act almost like a counselor.
What's he gonna do? Get on cam in front of you? This is not that much of a threat, but I get it. You don't want to be around him. Probably disgusted by his presence. I'd be too.
As someone who's kind of like impartial, who can help you talk through things. So the 2 times I met with him in person were supervised and with him. And my ex, he did go to therapy, and he came out of that therapy session. He said, my therapist told me that he thinks I have multiple personality disorder. And I black out when I lie, and I don't remember what's happening, and I'm not doing it on purpose. It's like just who I am, and I was...
Chat, see, this is the type of stuff, see, I'm a mature person, so I don't ever want to be insensitive to other people's plights and the things that other people go through just because I'm not going through it. But some of this stuff, you know, it grinds my gears. I can't even pretend or lie to you, because I'm not that guy, okay? I'm not in his life. I don't know what he's been through in his experiences. But like I said, as men, lust is a demon we all have to fight. It's a battle we all have to work through, okay? Even me. We all get horned up, okay? As men, we get horned up. I get horned up. But you have to, at a certain point, make a decision. There are things that are more important than busting a nut. I will still be able to bust a nut in my free time. If I accomplish these tasks, okay, I can feel good about myself, progress in my career, do what I need to do, and then I will bust a nut and be perfectly fine in a couple of hours, or later in the day, or later in the week. I don't like this. The reason that this grinds my gears is this, oh, I go to therapy. Oh, I have multiple personalities, and, you know, when I lie, I black out. Bro, oh my God. Oh boy. Some of this stuff is like, no, you just need to make a choice. What is the most important thing to you? Being successful, you know, being a man, being a leader, getting done what you're supposed to get done? Or do you just want to like sit around and continue making excuses for life? It's at a certain point when it comes to lust, it's a choice. This stuff with the multiple personalities, I can't co-sign it. I'm not rolling. I'm not rolling. Like, I'm not. Not for lust. Not for a lust addiction. I'm not rolling. I'm sorry.
Raised this way and all these things, and I was like, okay. And I remember telling him, I said, that must be so hard for you. Whether or not that's true, obviously he's got demons. I remember saying, I love you, and I'm really sorry that is something that you're dealing with in whatever capacity that might be.
And I'm not saying that he's not valid in why he's probably struggling. There's probably an explanation of how he kind of fell into the trap and why he began struggling. But I think the focus should be more on like how he got into that place and then building strategies to kind of get him on the right path, as opposed to saying, oh, it's my multiple personalities and I black out when I lie. It's just that, because those type of I don't even want to call them excuses. Those type of explanations are very much like, I can't control my multiple personalities, so we can't do anything about it. Oh, I can't control that I black out when I lie because it's not me there, so we can't do anything. All of those explanations, they lead to a place where it's now very difficult to build a strategy around that. Do you see why like that type of explanation grinds my gears? Because it doesn't allow you to say, okay, let's start here to build our strategy to help you become successful. Because then he can just say, well, I blacked out again. Sorry, went back. Oh, well, you know, my other personality took over, so it wasn't me this time and I went back.
So he told me he was diagnosed with multiple personality disorder, but I was not present for that conversation, and I don't know if that's something that he still stands by or resonates with, but in my opinion, it does kind of make a little bit more sense. He also told me kind of along with that, he said there's a personality that you're married to and that you know, and then there's a personality, a separate one, that does really horrific things and participates in really horrific things, and that is the personality that does all this other stuff. And you have no idea even the beginning of any of that. And I will never forget that conversation or that comment. And I just remember.
Sorry, chat. You know, I'm being insensitive. I understand, but some of this stuff is just, when it comes to lust, it's just like, it's hard for me to feel a lot of sympathy, because lust is not something, that experience of battling it is not something unique to just that guy. That's the reason why it's hard for me to sympathize with what obviously she's describing his situation, because that's not a unique experience. You know, men have to deal with that all the time, and even women have to deal with that. That's not, you know, you're not the first person to have to battle that or make a choice there.
Thinking, okay, he's like, but I'm getting help and it's gonna be okay. And I kind of spent those 3 weeks just being like, okay. And then I was shooting a wedding out of the country. It was my first international wedding, and I called a friend of mine, and she knows who she is. I don't think she even has TikTok, but I didn't know her that well at this point, but she's also in the photo video community, and I was like, hey, do you want to come with me? I went to Jamaica. I said, do you want to come to Jamaica with me for 5 days, all-inclusive resort to shoot a wedding? I need someone to come with me. And she was like, are you okay? And I was like, no. She had no idea. She didn't know until we got there, and I told her everything going on. I had left on that trip, and I told my ex, I said, I need you to make me a comprehensive list of everything you have lied about. Everything. Every single thing. And he's like, okay, I don't know. Okay, so I'm on this trip and I didn't really speak to him. Shot the wedding, it went well. My cute friend was such a support to me. I came home and I said, okay, it's been a week. You said you'd have a list for me. He's like, well, sorry, I forgot. And I didn't. See, back to the whole never follows through or anything. And I was like, I give you a week and you can't even do it. I said, I expect to have this comprehensive list of everything you lied about done and presented to me.
Bro's still not working, still not going to school, and he can't even make a list. Cooked.
And finally, he sent me a list. I was like 3 things on it. He's like, one time I said I was going to work and instead I went to Shields. And I'm like, okay. I lied about work and I lied about school. And I'm like, really? Okay. I know there's so much more to it. And I remember coming home from that trip and I went back to our joint house that we'd shared that neither of us were living in for the first time. And I was just sitting there and I called him. And it was like, I remember thinking, like, this is the first time I'm talking to my husband. Like, he was calm, he was kind. And I was like, this is like a legit, real, like, productive conversation. And so that's when I brought up the Snapchat video. And it was crazy because, like, and again, maybe it's multiple personality disorder, BPD. I don't know. I'm going off of what he told me and I don't know, right? But if that's true, I feel like I literally watched within that conversation him morph into this other personality, this other person. And I remember being like, look, you're using Snapchat. No, I'm not. And then I fibbed a little bit. I'll be honest. I said, okay, well, I went in and I went into Snapchat and I like logged into your account. And he's like, okay, fine. I do have a Snapchat, but I just use it to look at my Snapchat memories. And I said, are you sure? Is that the story you're going to go with? And remember, for the last 3 weeks, from the day that he had said, oh, I'm lying about schoolwork, there's nothing else, I promise there's nothing else. Me coming home, separating, there's nothing else, I promise. Probably 700 times told me there's nothing else he's lying about. Asked him to write a comprehensive list of everything he's lying about. There's nothing. And I say, okay, is that the story you're going with? And he goes, well, and that is where it turns out that he was using certain websites, like video chat websites where you can like connect with people and like basically have internet sex online, and then getting their contact information, specifically using like Snapchat. And he was maintaining relationships with those women. I have a friend in a similar circumstance who kind of dealt with a similar thing with the Snapchat thing, and her husband was getting prosecuted for soliciting prostitutes using Snapchat. So I am not allegedly anything. I'm not saying anything. All I'm saying is it's crazy because that's the same thing that I dealt with. And I'm not going to go too far into that because that's where it's like, I don't have factual evidence, anything beyond here. Do I believe that it went a lot further? I do. The other crazy thing, I talked to my mom about this today on the phone. I never went through his phone. Never one time. Not even, I think I checked his computer one time right before all this happened. I didn't find anything. But I'm like, he's admitting all this stuff to me. Like, now my reaction would be like, give me your phone. I can just imagine the conversations and the things that I'd see on that phone. But yeah, at that point is when he admitted to having multiple relationships. To what extent, I don't fully know. And I didn't ask. Because for me, like, and it's the same thing as like, I don't really care about my wedding ring. I don't really care about this. It was like,
I'm wondering if there's a bit of a telephone going on here, or that's actually what he said, because it's laughable if he's actually said that. So he's telling her that he's on Snapchat and these women that he's talking to on video cam are relationships that he's having. Okay, let me explain to you guys real quick what video cam actually is and how it actually works. You go to a porn site, right? And I don't even know how you describe. There's particular types of porn sites where it's all just cam girls, and the girls are on camera, like they're live. Like you see how I'm streaming now? You come to YouTube, you watch me. These women are live. Just like you could just scroll through the page and see a bunch of different women live. You click on one of their live streams instead of learning about relationships and being a productive, citizen like we're doing here. Those people or those guys are clicking the lives of these women. They're behind a computer desk chatting, typing. And these women are like, spread eagle, half naked, fully naked, whatever. And it's going to sound really crazy because some of you are going to be like, this is so disgusting. Obviously, the same way you guys might donate to support me or whatever on the show, and I love and I appreciate you guys, they can also donate, but usually it's for a different purpose. They'll be like, say this or do that. Put yourself in this position, right? Play with your nips, okay? Do this with your hair. Put this, all right? And they'll donate as they're doing that as basically a request. So the whole interaction is meant to be transactional. And the reason I'm saying that it's quite strange that if he was saying that these were relationships, is they're not relationships. These women, and I go so deep into trying to understand people and be in the world that I actually have people that I've had extensive conversations with that are OF girls and that do things like this to try and understand the psychology. And the only reason a cam girl would be adding you on Snapchat is because you're one of her highest paying customers. And they do that to keep you happy. And they do this thing where they're building out a whole fantasy for you, the person behind the camera on the computer, the guy, to believe in that fantasy that, oh my gosh, this is my girl. We're actually having a relationship. We're actually a thing. That way they continue sending money and paying more and more. And this is the twist, chat. You guys, you're probably like, oh my God, I didn't even know this world exists. This is the most twisted part of it. A lot of the times with these OF girls, these cam girls, right? You can imagine the really successful cam girls are, you know, they're big, right? So imagine, you know, I have 100,000 subscribers. Imagine being like a cam girl or an OF girl, you have 100,000 subscribers, right? There's no possible way you could interact with every single guy who's sending you a message, who wants to chat, who has a request, wants to dirty talk and all that other stuff. So a lot of the time, and this is so twisted, the guy is messaging the cam girl, let's say outside on Snapchat or wherever he's messaging her. But she has a man who works for her or works with her, who's actually the one really messaging her via her Snapchat account or via her OF account as her. And the reason they do that is because obviously she'll never be able to spend enough time to be messaging those guys when she has to, you know, do this, do that, be on camera, and then also live her own life. So they delegate that responsibility to these guys. So this is the craziest part about it. He might be thinking he's in a relationship, but one, he only got the Snapchat because he's probably one of the highest paying customers. And number two, he's probably not even talking to her. He's probably talking to a man who's posing as her, working with the cam girl, which is the most crazy and ridiculous part of that he's thinking he's in a relationship with someone, and that cam girl, it probably doesn't even know his last name, right? And obviously doesn't, even if she was the one messaging him, she doesn't actually care about him. She obviously is just keeping her highest paying customer. So it's just twisted all the way around.
Had enough. I can now say he cheated. He admitted to cheating on me. And I said, did you cheat on me? He said, yes. And I said, cool. I don't need to know anymore. I don't want to know anymore. Like, I'm just a girl. Like, I'm just like a God-fearing Christian girly out here doing her best. And I was so horrified. I don't think my brain could even comprehend what that meant. I remember like a year ago, like a year and a half later after all this, I woke up one day and I was like, my husband cheated on me. Like, I was just like so shocked by that revelation.
Someone said in the chat, as a former OF girl, I used automated messages. So you see my point, right? It's not, they're not even talking to the real person.
And that was the point where I decided that we were going to be getting a divorce. I didn't tell him at that point. I waited like a couple days and I went over. It was right before Christmas. It was like December 21st. And I said, he was staying at his parents' house. I went downstairs and I said, hey, I want you to know, like, I'm really proud of myself for this. I said, I want you to know that you're forgiven fully and entirely on my part. Probably for selfish reasons. I don't want to carry this burden the rest of my life, but you are forgiven by me entirely. I will not hold this against you, but we will be getting a divorce. And I love you, and this is going to be the most loving divorce that anyone has ever seen. We're going to part separate ways, and it's going to be okay. We're both going to be okay. And his parents had no idea what was going on. So I went upstairs, and I told them, and I said, hey, this is what's been going on and why I have not been present. And his dad was kind, but his mom's response was, well, I expect you to never tell anybody about this, to keep our names out of your mouth, to never talk about this to protect his reputation. And my response was, I will tell the truth about the situation. And obviously now here I am talking about it on the internet. So
what? That was the response? Not embarrassment, not to have a conversation. Huh. Very interesting. So the enabling has been going on for a long time. I wonder if they knew. I wonder if they already knew this information, because I'm thinking if my son's wife came to me and told me that, I'd be like, okay, yeah. And then the first thing I would do is me and my son need to have a sit down conversation, because this needs to be addressed. Not, oh, make sure you protect my son. What? No. What? Where's the accountability? This is weird.
I'm sure I'll get some backlash about that, but that was the point in which I decided to file for divorce. Okay, I think we're on part 8. I knew that by coming to the internet, 1, I knew people were gonna wanna hear the story, but 2, I think it's hilarious that I'm getting ripped apart for the way that I talk. I'm not saying you're wrong. I do say like, and I do say and I do talk like a Utah girl, so you are correct, but I think it's so funny. And also I'm laughing. I'm not like heated about it, but it is funny. So basically, once we get to the point of me filing for divorce, it was really interesting because
Freudian slip chat.
His comment to me was, you are dead to me. This never happened. I'm gonna pretend like this never happened. And he stayed true to that. So I served him divorce papers and I never heard anything back. When he moved out, I told him he could take anything that he wanted, and he took his stuff. I mean, we didn't really have much besides the house, and he already told me the house was mine. I paid for it. And yeah, so in those divorce proceedings, we really didn't have any. I served him papers, never heard anything. So we ended up with a default divorce, which basically means he never signed the papers, but we waited a long enough amount of time with zero response, no rebuttal, nothing from him. And so it ended up being a default divorce. And I'm actually pretty grateful for that because I know that like actual divorce proceedings get super nasty, and I'm so lucky to have avoided that period of that. And as grateful as I am for that, it was super interesting because it was also like so hurtful. Like we were together for 6 years, okay, married for 2.5, and it just, to not even have the decency for you to sign our divorce papers was super interesting, especially because through the whole like separation period, he was like, I'll do anything, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. But hey, it made it super easy, and so for that I'm grateful. I've only had a couple little interactions with him since, and they've all been so weird. First was that I had a couple girls DM me, almost a couple little interactions.
Why does she do that face sometimes? She do a devious face, like she holding back some stuff.
Super easy, and so for that I'm grateful. I've only had a couple little interactions with him since, and they've all been so weird.
What type of side eye is that? Chat, what is this?
I don't even think it was finalized.
What does this side eye mean? Sorry, I be reading into stuff. What does this side eye mean that she giving us?
I've only had a couple little interactions with him since, and they've all been so weird. First was that I had a couple girls DM me almost immediately after. I don't even think it was finalized. Basically being like, hey, my friend's dating your ex-husband. He says you've been separated for 7 months, divorced for a year. Like, is that true? And I was like, we're not divorced yet. So anyway, another one being, he called me about 6 months later and was just like, I just want you to know, like, no one loves and respects their ex-wife. Like, I respect and love you. And I was like, cool. Aren't you dating someone? And he's like, no. And I'm like, I know that you're dating someone. Like, it's on social media. I know you're dating someone. And he's like, yeah, well, it's like not serious. Anyway, they're married and happy for them. Happy for them. I hope they're happy. I hope everything is so awesome. Then another one where I went to do my taxes and I banked somewhere and then my car loan's through a different
What? Okay.
place. And so when I went to log in, and that's where we used to bank together, when I went to log in to look at my car loan to do some stuff with taxes, I realized that I was still on his bank account as an authorized user and that there was a very significant amount of debt. And to be honest, I don't know how any of that works, guys. Like, anyway, but I was like, I don't want that like attached to me. I don't want any part of that. So I had to contact him per the bank's rules to get his signature to say like I can be off of his account as an authorized user. And it was horrible. He was like, I signed it. And I'm like, hey, it's a DocuSign. Like, I can see when you log in, I can see that you haven't signed it. Like, it's not signed. He's like, yes, I did. And I'm like, it's not signed. And that went on. Finally, he signed it. Okay. So I like really haven't had any contact. I haven't really heard from him. Like, of course I hear things. My friends will run into him. So I ran into his parents a couple times, and it was like always weird, but never really anything to write home about. And I just was like, I'm in my healing era. All is well. I'm doing great. And until a couple months ago, I owned 2 properties, one where we lived when we were married and one where I live now. And I got a call basically being like, you're sending collections, like something to do with fraud for my utilities on that house. And I was so confused because they've been on auto pay for like 4 years now. And so I called them and I'm like, hey, what? And I'm like, yeah, someone named ex-husband called and shut off these utilities. And I was like, wait, what? And because he used to be on that account, I think he was getting emails for it. But why did he call and shut my utilities off? It was just like so weird. And I'm like, whatever. I was upset, but whatever. And then it was just like a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago or so, I was at the pool by my house and I saw this girl staring at me and I was like, this is so odd. Upon further inspection, that is his wife. And I was like, oh, interesting that we're at this pool together. And me being the little sneaky snake I am, I had to know. I was like, does she live here? So when she left, I just kind of watched where she went. And yeah, their house is literally less than 0.1 miles away from mine. And I had known that he was buying a house, and I kind of knew it was an American Fork because he went to my uncle, the one that he worked with, to get insurance on the house. And my uncle was like, I think he lives next to her, to my parents. But when they looked it up, because it's a new address, it showed that it was like 15 minutes away, so I didn't really think anything of it. No, it's less than 0.1 miles away from my house. And I'm like, I think that's really interesting, given that he talked to my uncle, and I'm sure my uncle told him that, he's like, hey, you know, she lives right there. And anyway, they purchased a home, and we now live less than 0.1 miles away from each other. And I see him when we come home. Sometimes we come home at the same time in our cars, and like we're both turning the same way. Because I'm not even kidding, we take the same road every single day to get places. And it feels a little weird. Like, there's been some weird, spooky things going on around my house. I'm not pointing fingers. I don't know. All I'm saying is, guys, like, it's kind of weird. That's really strange. Of all the places you could coincidentally end up living when you kind of knew that's where I lived, it's a little weird that you moved right next door to me. And also, I've been living here for over a year, and you just moved in. So, kind of weird, kind of strange. And now I get to see him fairly regularly as we come in and out of our neighborhood. Okay, part 9.
That's awesome.
So, I mean, in general, that is like the broad synopsis. And there's so many things and so many parts, and like I could literally...
Someone said, why is she happy about that? I think she copes by like laughing about stuff. Some people, if you're even at a funeral or something, you're saying something really sad, they'll like start smiling. They're not actually trying to be disrespectful. They cope like that with just a smile when something is sad.
Give you 1 billion trillion parts, and I'm not going to. We're going to leave it at that. But I think as a whole and as a conclusion and as a consensus, like, it can be pretty controversial to bring things up like this on the internet, and it can be viewed as like attention seeking, or like you should keep that private and you shouldn't talk about it. And like I've even had a few friends be like, Kate, what are you doing? Look, I've been dealing with this for years now, and I've thought about bringing it up, I've thought about not, and I saw an opportunity and I took it. I have already gotten probably 20 messages and so many comments of people being like, oh, I went through the same thing. And that is the reason that I choose to speak on it. I cannot even begin to tell you the level of like isolation and pain and hurt that I went through, because I thought I was the only person who had ever gone through this. And there was a comment about how, oh, within your LDS bubble, I'm sure that was even more isolating. Yes, my faith plays a part in this. But outside of the LDS faith, right? If you're being mistreated in any way, if you're being lied to, if you're being cheated on, if you're being gaslit, it doesn't matter if you're a member of my faith or any faith. You deserve a relationship where trust is the basis. In my opinion, love without trust does not exist. I cannot love someone that I do not trust. And that's one of my biggest takeaways that I took from this entire experience. And when people ask me like, were there red flags? I mean, you all know the story now. Yeah, kind of, but like, I didn't know any better. I hope that when a girl listens to my story, listens to someone else's story, or sees me or talks to me about any of this, they can come to me and be like, whoa, I recognize that in this relationship that I had, or I can see these things, or I can avoid that in the next relationship that I have. Because unfortunately,
Okay, chat. That's that's pretty much her story there. It kind of ends off there, but that is quite that was quite the roller coaster that I was not. I mean, I started to suspect that, but definitely, like I said, cam girls. That's not how men consume corn. Okay, that's not what we do. If they're gonna consume corn, they're gonna watch, they're gonna wank, they're gonna go to work. Anything more than that is weirdo activity. I'm being so serious with you as a man. Like, that's weirdo activity. Keeping corn on your phone, like, I'm not talking about like pictures a girl you're talking to will send you. I'm talking about like keeping this random corn that you're watching on your phone and your camera roll. Weirdo activity. That's not weird. That's not, normal activity there. Okay. And just, the whole idea, like I said, it's not me trying to be insensitive, chat, but lust is something we all have to deal with as men, especially. It's one of the biggest things you must conquer if you want to reach the next level as a man. If you want to be a boss, you want to make millions, you want to do your thing and be successful out here as a man, the number one thing that you will have to conquer is lust. If you do not get a hold of that as a man, you are cooked. And the idea that your multiple personalities or this will be the reason you can't do it, it's a choice at the end of the day. And, I say that because other men might be in your life and they might have a corn addiction, or the mindset of, oh, I can't conquer this because it's not me. It's on my phone. It's on my For You page. No, like, we all have to deal with it. The men that really want to be successful, they'll figure out how to deal with it and put it away to get done what they need to get done. The men who have no self-control, they'll sit around and they'll make excuses and they'll waste money, they'll waste time, they'll waste energy chasing around lust. Not even just chasing around lust. You know what I mean? So it's sad. I'm glad that she's out of the situation now. But definitely it's one of those things where she's very justified in breaking up with him. You don't need to be going through, someone who's being abusive or, treating you so horribly for you to leave, even in a situation like that. Because this is the thing too, is that being not able to conquer your lust as well means that you will be able to be controlled by your lust. So someone who knows how to manipulate his addiction to lust can come into his life like a cam girl and literally convince him to do crazy things to her, as crazy as that sounds, or to himself. There was a story, I'm not going to bring it up, but it's even on YouTube. There's a guy, he went to jail and he was in questioning in the, police station because he had taken his mother's credit card and he had spent his parents, because he lived with his parents, and he was like 40 years old. And he had spent on his parents' credit card over $200,000 on a cam girl, like sending her money like all the time, right? A cam girl that he was watching that he thought he was in a relationship with, to the point where his parents didn't realize they had to report fraud on the account. And in the investigation, that's when they realized he had spent all that money on their credit cards, all right? It was some crazy amount, something like that. So, trust me, chat, the men that don't get control of their lust, they will be punished for it. And so it's just something you have to conquer as a man, okay? Let's hop into our... This is quite crazy. Let's hop into our next segment of the day. Those of you who have been here for a while, you know what segment is coming, so make sure you spam it up in the chat. Those of you who are new here, you're in for a treat, okay? Don't look at your clock. Don't look at your watch. Don't look at your phone. And don't look nowhere else in your entire home. It is a special time. It is an amazing time. And it's a time where you're going to laugh and you're going to cry if you already haven't been doing that, okay? Loud or quiet, chat. Discord time. Okay, chat, we're about to hop into Discord time. For those of you who have no idea what this is, Discord times where all the amazing members of our Players Club Discord community get an opportunity to ask me a question about their situationship or their relationship, and I answer it live on the show. Got to put on my professor glasses for this. Now, I'm going to explain the 3 ways you can send in a question. First way, you go to the link in my bio, click where it says Players Club Discord. You can drop your question into our free relationship advice forum here. It is a first come, first serve forum, so it's going to take me a while to get to your question if you drop it in a day, because there is a queue that I have to go through before I can get to your question. So it might take me a couple shows to get to yours. But if you're impatient and you don't want to wait a couple of shows for me to get to your question, what you can do is you can drop your question into our premium relationship advice forum, which is like a skip the line pass at a theme park. The way that this works is I read out these questions in the premium section before I go into the free section, for those people that don't want to be waiting all the time to get their question answered in the queue. The way that you can access this, you go to the link in my bio, or not my bio, link in my description, and you click where it says Premium Discord Relationship Advice. You'll be prompted to donate to the show and send in with your donation your Discord username and the title of your question, and then I'll know that's you. Verify that your question is supposed to be in here. Then when you drop your question in, I'll read it out and you'll get to skip the line of people. The third way for you to submit your question is by going to the link in my bio, my description on YouTube. Click where it says private relationship advice. This is for those of you who don't want your information to be read on the show, and maybe you're more of a private person, or you just want to get my question answered on a different time. You can send in your question through the private link, which is available in my description there, private relationship advice link there. When you click it, you'll be prompted to send in your question, right? You type out your question, as many paragraphs and details as you want, and then I respond with a voice message, okay? So let's hop into our first premium question of the day in the Discord. First question we have here comes from Josie. Josie says, is ignoring my husband the right way to go about this situation? Hi! From Germany. So I'm 32, my husband is 30, and we are married for 3 years. In 2024, about June, I was already pregnant. I noticed some change of behavior in him. He started lying to me about talking and meeting girls. It's kind of like what we were just watching. Before he used to tell me that he was meeting girls and talking to them. He used to tell you that? Let me give you an example. He will go outside to the balcony and increase the music, then talk to someone. When I asked him with who, he will lie, say it is a boyfriend of his, like a guy friend of his. But as I could see on his Apple Watch, which was conveniently lying around the table, it was supposed to be a best friend who is a lesbian, which I don't buy. Like you meant to say it was supposedly a best friend who was a lesbian, which I don't buy, because she is frequently posting pics with guys with a guy's arm / hands in it. Must be a very hairy woman if I'm wrong. Okay. I think you might say made a mistake and went through his phone just to see a convo between him and his lesbian friend where she sent a pic of a metal underwear for men. What is that? I don't even know what that is. They make metal underwear for men? They make metal underwear for anyone? Okay. She said my hubby, like she's talking to him, you're reading this message, needs these kind of pants to stop him from messing around. She's saying your man needs metal underwear so he doesn't mess around. Okay. On another occasion, I saw that my hubby saved a bikini picture of said lesbian friend. I asked him why he has it, and he explained that she did not send it to him, but that he screenshotted it. Why would he explain that as if that makes it better? Okay, what? That actually makes it a lot worse. He could not answer why he needed to do that and said that I should not disturb him with stupid questions. Huh? By that time I didn't know how to deal with it. I got so angry and called him names, threw things at him, and so on. So time went by. I stopped going through his social media as his sister told me to do. His sister told you to not go through his social media. Now I just asked nicely, and I discovered you and tried to use your tips ever since. And I noticed similar behavior with different girls, and I think to not get into a fight, he rather lied about meeting girls at parties, always tells me he meets with only his guy friends, and the girls are just there by luck. I find this hard to believe. It is hard to believe, okay? Since I saw messages of girls asking him, where is he, during the time he went to a party. 2 weeks ago, I noticed him calling and smiling, and I just asked very kindly, who are you talking to? As usual, he will not say anything precise and just say it's a friend. We go back and forth till he admits it's a girl. When I ask who it is, I get the usual don't disturb me. His response to you asking which woman he's speaking to is don't disturb me. What type of relationship are you in, Josie? This is not regular what's happening here. Answer, after I saw that girl texting him on Instagram. I swear I'm not digging into his social media. He just is on his phone while we're cuddling together and those things pop up. That means he's reckless and careless because he actually doesn't even care enough about you or the relationship to even try and hide what he's doing. So he's literally, this is actually crazy. He's on the phone with the girls in front of you. And then when you call him out on it, he's basically saying, how dare you have the audacity to address the fact that I'm blatantly cheating on you in front of your face. That's basically what's happening here. Okay, let's go on. And I asked him about her. He showed me the text, and I see he is calling her baby girl. That's how he calls me too. At this point, I just told him, do you really think this is good behavior? And left the room. Next day, I called his dad to please advise his son since my hubby is not listening. Oops, I lost my place there. Since my hubby is not listening when I tell him this is disrespectful to me. That was Monday, 7/7. I unfortunately lost my poop and yelled at him before I started ignoring him. A bit difficult given the circumstances that we live together and have a baby together. I understand. But I'm not trying to respond to any of his questions, insults. He's insulting you till he apologizes or asks why I'm ignoring him. Is this the right way to go about it at this point, or is everything lost already? The girl issue has been a problem in our relationship for over a year now, and there is no improvement. If anything, it got worse. I already got his sister involved because he won't take me serious. Your own husband is not taking you serious when you're addressing him about speaking to other women. Your relationship's done. But it's not helping. I hope he would listen to his dad, who before I even asked him, already told him to cut down the engagement with girlfriends because it's not good for the marriage. Thank you, Tomisin. Sorry for my English not being the yellow of the egg. I think that's a saying for saying English is not my first language. Here's the thing, Josie. I'm not saying you're a bad person for letting this transpire because I get it. You're learning. You probably didn't understand what's going on or how someone could be so bold, but your relationship's done. And I don't like to make blanket statements like that in the sense that, like, I don't want every one of my answers to be break up with him, break up with him, break up with him. But in a relationship, there's only so much you can do as it relates to accountability. And as it relates to addressing problems, where if someone else doesn't think they have a problem or isn't even willing to have a discussion about it, you can't get anywhere. You can't move forward. Like, you're telling your man is blatantly disrespecting you in front of you. He's on the phone with women in front of you. Like, I can't even fathom how this is possible. He's on the phone in front of you with women, flirting in front of you. You're addressing him, and then he's telling you that you shouldn't disturb him. Where are we supposed to go from there? There's no conversation to be had. What conversation are you supposed to have? You're seeing on his phone, he's texting girls and calling them baby girl, right? Like he's messaging girl. You're seeing messages pop up on his phone in front of you. Like there's only so much we can do where it's like, if he's not at least like, you're not even able to have an argument here because he's not even like taking you seriously when you're even saying that you feel disrespected. There is nowhere to go. Now, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, well, just go ahead and divorce him. It'll be easy and whatever. But right now, I think the best thing for you to do is leave him be and start building your exit strategy. Okay? This is going to sound very mischievous, very devious, but you have to start thinking, okay, what is going to be the way where I can leave this situation and relationship and my life doesn't go to shambles? So start talking to your family. Don't talk to his, okay? Don't mention any of this to his family. His family will report back to him. Start talking to your own family and have them advise you on how you should go about this. Make sure they don't relay this to his family. Because what you should be trying to do and thinking about here is how to make your smooth exit in a way that doesn't leave you like homeless or stranded or without anything, right? So start to claw back his control over you. So whether it be his financial control, start to look at things like, okay, what bank account do I have? What bank account does he have access to? How do I start saving some money for myself so that I'm not homeless when he gets called out or if we divorce, right? And you have to start putting your plan together, long story short, because I don't think there's anywhere to go from here. But my concern is that he probably is talking to you that way. Oh, don't disturb me, because he knows that he's in such a position of power. Without him, you'll have nothing or nowhere to go, right? And that's probably why he's so bold in the way that he's going about things, right? So you have to start building your strategy to exit the situation in a way that you can still benefit and still be good, okay? Someone said get some proof. I don't think that proof is necessarily going to do you much good here because what is proof supposed to do? I mean, I guess what proof could maybe help you get more alimony or maybe something like that if you guys get divorced. But I just don't think that I don't think that proof is necessarily going to serve you here. You might go crazy trying to run around and get a bunch of stuff. I mean, you could, in the process of planning your exit strategy, go through his phone when he's not around to try and get some screenshots, send them to yourself so that you have proof that he's cheating on you, just, to have that on you. But that needs to be part of your exit strategy. That can't be like, oh, gathering proof to confront him about it. So if you see some stuff on his phone that's incriminating, save it or send it to yourself, but don't tell him that you have it and don't confront him about it so he can lie about it or get you to delete it or whatever, right? Like just keep it to yourself so that can all be bundled up in your exit strategy when the time is. And like I said, don't talk to his parents about it, right? So you planning to leave, don't mention it to his parents. Don't mention it to his sister, his siblings, or any of his guy friends, okay? Only mention it to your people and your people only, meaning your girlfriends, if you want to talk about it with them. In fact, even the girlfriends, make sure they're not cool with him. Your family, make sure they're not relaying it to his family. Just your side of people, okay? Anyone that's associated with him, any mutual friends, don't mention it to them because you don't want them to relay it to him and then he knows what's coming and he knows to start hiding things from you, okay? So that's honestly what my advice would be to you because I don't think that there's anywhere to go when someone is telling you, don't disturb me, while on the phone with other women in front of you. There's no advice for me to give you after that, okay? Let's hop into our next question here. Okay. Our next question comes from M. Okay. M says, healthy pacing or am I dating a monk? Okay. Tomisin, sir, the lover girl in me is feeling like Chicken Little, acting like the sky is falling. But of course, thank you in advance for reading this and your advice. I'm 21. I used Hinge for a few weeks to plan to keep it that way. Oh, sorry, I haven't used Hinge for a few weeks and plan to keep it that way. Good. That said, I remembered I still had the profile on The League, a dating app that shows you only 3 profiles a day. And before deleting it, I swiped on a guy who's 24, who turns out had already swiped on me. We had a brief back and forth and exchanged numbers and agreed to a date before he went out of town to visit his family. This was in the middle of May. Our first date went really well. He was engaged, curious about law, my career in the future, and asked how I cultivated my mindset, how he grew up with regulated parents who have shared self-improvement books that like about him, right? With him, just some context. A week and a half later, sorry, after I returned, he planned on our second date, mini golf. He opened up about values like wanting calmness in marriage, the pressure some people feel around marriage timelines. We both want to get married and have children in the future. And his interview for a finance role that he's always wanted. After a second date, he texted me saying that he had a great time and suggested a dinner in the city on Friday. This turned out to be the same day he landed the job. Okay. On our third date, we celebrated our new jobs. He cut a flower I pointed out with his switchblade and gave it to me. Cheesy, but charming. From mid-June to July 4th, we didn't see each other. During that time, I was grieving the loss of someone close to me, and we were both of us were prepping for our financial licensing exams, which were required for our roles. We texted here and there, but I didn't want to over text, and I knew that we wouldn't be seeing each other for at least 2 weeks. Our fourth date was July 4th. We went to the beach, watched fireworks, danced at the beach. He was patient with me in the water, knowing I had 2 drowning incidents. Oh, damn. That's crazy. We talked about careers, how I've always envisioned being a human rights lawyer, but now I'm intrigued by securities and corporate law. He told me that it didn't matter what I choose. He believed I'd succeed either way. Told me about his new job where he started having client dinners, which he's been enjoying. I also found out that he's talked to his coworkers about me. One of them recommended him the restaurant we went to for our first date. The next morning, I checked to see if he had gone home safe. Traffic was rough. What do you mean check to see? Do you have his location? And we had a brief exchange. Oh, you texted him. He did apologize Saturday for a late night reply to my text. He was out with a college friend. I ended the conversation by Sunday evening. Here's where my question comes in. Since Sunday, I haven't heard from him. This Sunday? Since Sunday, I haven't heard from him. It's not the first time we've gone 3 days without texting, and normally I don't read into that. We've had consistency so far. He's been communicative about his schedule, my schedule, checked in about exams, helped me study finance exams he's already taken. Our texting felt intentional, not mindless. Still, I found myself wondering today, at what point does the gap in texting become something to look into? I would probably say not yet. Not yet. Because, 3 days obviously is an extended period of time, but you also have to factor in where are you in the relationship. We're still in, what you say? You said this was the middle of May that you guys had your first date. You guys have not even been on over 5 dates yet, from my understanding, right? So you guys have seen each other a couple of times. Now we're in July, right? We're in July now. So you're still like really in the first like month and a half. You can't be expecting everyday communication yet. It's just not, 3 days is not the end of the world. I should say it like that. The online takes about, texting can be extreme. If he doesn't text in 8 hours or 1 day, cut him off. But I also wonder if 4 days turns into 5, how do I stay grounded and not fall into anxious spiraling? So we actually kind of talked about this today on today's show. If you feel like a guy's pulling away, how do you kind of deal with that? But I also think that in your scenario, right, like the guy also has a lot going on in his life and you guys are still very, very early on in your dating period. I just think the best thing for you to do at this time is to be patient. I know that that's not a strategy and answer that you probably want to hear. You probably want to hear me say, text him this and he'll respond. No, you just have to be patient and see how this plays out. If 4 days turns into 5 or 6, so be it. Accept that and understand that you're not going to be able to, if the guy's not reaching out to you, he has your number, right? He knows you exist, right? So If he was trying to reach out to you, he would have done that. I understand your mind is kind of saying, oh, well, it could be this, it could be that, it could be anything. But the reality of it is he's not reaching out for a reason. When he's ready to reach out, he will. At that point, you can reevaluate if it makes sense to respond to him or continue this. For example, if he reaches out in 3 weeks, obviously you're not going to respond to that. Now, if he reaches out to in a couple of days, you can kind of strategize, okay, well, how am I going to respond? Is this too long where I feel the need to punish him? Or is this something where I feel like it's whatever, I don't need to really care too much about it, right? And you can kind of gauge that way, right? But I still don't think right now at 3 days, it's necessarily something that needs to be a major red flag. You guys are still just getting to know each other. Is it okay to send a check-in text like, hope your week's been going good? No, don't do that. Don't do that because it's not necessary. And I know that you're doing that for a specific desired outcome. You're doing that because in your anxiety, you're hoping this will remind him of your existence, that he will then say, oh, by the way, let's go out. I love you. I love spending time with you. I want to see, right? That's why you're doing that, okay? Not because you actually want to check in. So don't remind him of your existence. He knows that you exist. He knows how to get in contact with you. He's not contacting you for a reason. Better for you to observe that than try to change that. If I haven't heard from him soon, but if I did, I have to ask myself if that would be coming from a place of anxiety rather than being genuine, not caring about how he responds. I ended the last convo, so part of me wonders if it's on me to reinitiate. There's a small voice in my head saying no one's too busy to send a text, and then it becomes this inner battle, logical me versus secure me versus anxious gremlin me. I know a lot of my anxiety around texting comes from past dating experiences and having an avoidant parent growing up. I don't enjoy the fact that I'm expecting this much energy over something that may be nothing, but here I am. So I'm asking, giving everything above, is this something to be concerned about? Not yet. Not in the context of how long you guys have been seeing each other and how serious this would be, just to be honest with you. Should I establish a boundary that if we're not seeing each other for a week, a simple check-in would be appreciated? Or is this too early to be doing that? That's a good question. My answer would be, if you're going to have this conversation with him, it should come after you guys reconnect. Let's say he messages you tomorrow and you guys go out on another date again later this week. Then in the process of you guys having conversation, you can bring up the type of communication that you appreciate better, right? Not saying, I need you to change this, I need you to change that, da, 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 da. You can just let him know, hey, something that I really want in my relationships is open communication. And I want someone to be able to let me know what's going on with them so that I can properly understand and not just be left in the dark. When things are going on in your life or when things are going on in my life, neither of us can know that. So it's just important to keep that so that we can both not be unaware or confused, right? That's something that I really want for myself in my relationships. And then you let him respond to that in the way that he feels best to respond. The reason I say best to bring that up the next time you see each other is because we don't want you bringing that up out of desperation. Please do this for me. Please change this. I can't stand the fact that you didn't message me for, right? We don't want to bring it up like that. We want to bring it up in a way where it's like, hey, this is what I appreciate. This is what I like. This is what works for me, right? And that way, right, when you have that conversation in the future, if he goes back to not talking to you for like a week or a week and a half, then when you're really punishing him, he'll know for sure why you're punishing him, because this is things that you don't appreciate, right? He was respectful towards me, telling him a month ago, I like to have better communication when it comes to planning dates. I canceled on him once because while I knew the date and time of the dinner, I didn't know the address until the day of. Or should I ask him some questions when I see him about his views on texting when dating, or is that also too early? I actually think that could be a good strategy to ask him what his views are. Because that'll also give you an understanding of his own perspective. For example, if he says, honestly, I don't think it's necessary to text someone every 3 to 4 days. And if you go a week without talking to your partner, that's perfectly fine, right? Then you're going to have a serious conversation with yourself. That might not be the guy for you. Because if his philosophy on dating is, hey, talk to your partner when you feel like it, don't talk to them when you don't feel like it, leave them in the dark about everything, you're not going to be able to change him off of his stance. You get what I'm saying? Is there any way to strike a balance between not wanting to text too much and not wanting to seem indifferent about the silence? Isn't there a risk of making a man comfortable and disappearing then reappearing? That's why there's a time limit, number one. And that's why so let's say you get to the point where you're on like day 5 or like 6, right? You're inching nearer to a week than you are a couple of days. Now you want to build a strategy where if he does reach out to you, like we talked about today, you're going to ignore him until he addresses you for not talking to him or not responding to him. Then you'll say, well, yeah, I'm not responding to you because I don't like the hot and cold stuff, right? I'm not into that. I just move on and do my own thing. And then let him address the situation. Oh, I was doing this. I apologize, da-da-da-da-da. And you can just say, okay, I'll make it up to you. You could just say, okay, right? So that's the way to deal with that if you're inching closer towards a week after a while. I knew I wouldn't see him this week because of my schedule and his parents visiting, which I'm fine with. But this overthinking moment is just new. Don't worry, I haven't not done or sent anything so far, but I did go on an hour walk to regulate my anxious gremlin thoughts. Appreciate anything that comes to mind. Yes. So please, no messages, no reminders, no nudges, nothing. Don't like his pictures. Don't comment on nothing. Don't like his stories, nothing. Okay. Leave him be. He'll reach out when he's ready to reach out. If you are inching closer to a week, you use the strategy that we literally talked about today. If it's only a couple of days, then you just pretend like nothing's happened and continue to gauge how things are. Next time you see him, have a conversation with him about your views on, I would say ask him first his views on communication in a relationship, right? How often, how frequent, what's important, what's not. And then you talk about your views, okay? And then see where you guys stand on that as it relates to that the next time you guys see each other, assuming you see each other here in a little bit after you start talking again, okay? Let's hop into our next, make sure I didn't skip anything. Did I skip this? No, I answered that. Perfect. Let's hop into our free section here. Let me scroll down. Make sure I don't skip nothing. Don't skip nothing. Okay. Is this new? This might be new. Let me see here. Can I state the standard up front, how to express? Hi, Tommy. Can I get your honest perspective on something? I've been thinking about how to express a non-negotiable of mine in dating without being misunderstood. I know I want to marry a generous man who values being a provider, not just financially, but emotionally too. I don't expect that from just anyone, but I also don't want to waste time entertaining guys who aren't aligned with that. I also have my own career and I love being independent. But when it comes to building a family, I want a man who genuinely wants to lead, protect, and provide, so I have the option to not work while raising kids. Not because I can't, but because I want to focus on the home if I choose to. Here's where I need your perspective as a man. Does this sound like a reasonable thing to express early on in dating, or would it come off as too much too soon? The best way to talk about that is to ask a man his own perspective when it comes to relationship dynamic and the type of family dynamic he wants. So the easier way to ease into that without saying, hey, would you pay for everything? Would you be a provider, man? Because once there's certain buzzwords that when you say that, they'll be like, oh, like they'll think you heard it from a podcast, right? You start saying provider man, high value man, right? The best way to say is like when you start talking about relationships and you start talking about family and you asking him what he wants of his relationship and in the future, ask him, okay, what would you love for your like day-to-day to look like? Like what would you want your responsibilities to be and your like wife's responsibilities to be on a day-to-day basis? Like how would you manage the family? How would you like manage the kids? And like what would be your strategy and approach to that, right? Then you just sit back and let him yap of what his approach will be. What will come most of the time when you ask that question, he'll begin to talk to you about like, okay, well, I'm going to work and my wife is going to work. Ding, 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 right? So he's saying we both go to work. That's obviously not aligned with you and what you want. So you're getting that answer that way. Or he might say, I go to work. I would love for my wife to be a stay-at-home wife. So she'll take care of the kids, take them to school. She'll come back, maybe do yoga or something, you know, be super hot. I'll go to work, make money, come back, be with the kids, da da da. Once they take you through their day to day, you'll learn very quickly what place they're in mentally and what, type of situation they're looking for. It's not, that difficult. And then when you get that information, you don't need to say anything. They might say, oh, what about you? What do you think? And then you could say, yeah, I'd love to be able to go out and, my man works and I'm home with the kids and and you can give your perspective. But remember, his perspective, when you ask the question, right, that's his honest perspective. So when a guy tells you, yeah, I want to go to work and I expect my woman to go to work and, contribute on the bills and we'll both go 50-50, we'll both do the housework, we'll both do this and that, whatever, and that's not what you're aligned with, then very quickly on the first date, you have your answer. Even if that's a conversation over the phone, you have your answer as to what is his future desires for a relationship and a relationship dynamic, right? That's just honest, because you're not going to be able to change his desire and what he expects for a future relationship. Is there any way I could express this standard that would feel more inviting or natural to men without making it sound like I'm just interested in money? Like the way that I just said, right? It's by asking him his own perspective and then seeing if that aligns with you or not, right? That's really the only way to approach that. You're not going to be able to say, hey, this is what I expect. And I need you to be on that same timeline as me. It's just a question that you ask. Is there any way I could express, I did that one, right? If a woman said something like, to feel emotionally safe and open up in a relationship, I need to know I'm with a man who takes pride in providing and being generous, how would that land on you? That would come across as very disingenuous. It also would come across too transactional. I'm not saying that you are a bad person for saying this or wanting this, but presenting it this way, it almost seems like I'm going to tell you how it comes across and is received. It would be received like, the only way I will continue talking to you is if the expectation is that you're going to do a lot for me in the relationship. I'm not saying that's a crime. I'm just saying when you present it this way that you're describing here, it won't be received very well. Most men who have money are going to be very sensitive to people who are basically saying, I'm only going to interact with you. I'm only going to be interested in you if you're interested in paying for my life. You're not going to get a very positive response that way when you're dealing with men with money, right? Would it be a red flag or turn off for you if a woman said up front, I'm only looking for a man who would be happy to provide for our future family? Why or why not? I would say for me and most men with money, it would be a turn off because it sounds too transactional. And let's say a guy was actually genuinely interested in building with you. The idea that you would be saying, okay, this is my expectation of you before we've even established if our relationship is going and moving in the right direction, if we're even compatible, just seems very, very icky, right? It doesn't give off the right vibe, right? We haven't even established if we're in a relationship or we are compatible. And then you're saying, well, it would only make me happy if you're interested in providing for our future and our family. It's like, we even compatible here? For me to best help you understand the type of ickiness it is, it would be like you go on a first date with the guy and the first thing out of his mouth is, I'm really only interested in looking for a woman who will be the freakiest version of herself with me and be an SLUT for me and get down and dirty for me and give me BJs every single day. That's really the only type of woman I'm looking that will serve me and be submissive to me all the time and basically, listen to whatever I say. The ickiness that you would feel, right? Even if that's not something that you're against, the ickiness that you'd feel if someone came on a very first date before you even established if you like each other and just started saying that how you'd feel, it's the same concept. You'd be like, what? Like that's okay. Like, we don't even know if I like you yet. And you're talking, I'm only interested in a girl who will be like, it's just weird. It's a weird vibe. Do you think a man can pretend to be generous or a provider minded during dating, but it shows up different once married. No, the same. If a guy's a provider, you'll know that while you're dating him, and it'll be the same when you're married to him. If he's not, you'll know that while dating him, and it'll be same when you're married to him, because it's not something that changes, right? Being a provider is not just about, oh, I want to pay for things that it's also having the spirit of saying, I want to take care of my woman. So when you go from being his girlfriend to being his wife, that should only exacerbate, not make it less, right? I'm genuinely trying to learn, man, and think about this. I don't want to be misunderstood as materialistic, but I don't want to suppress what value I see just to seem more palatable. Part 2, briefly, I thought of some questions and phrases I would like your opinion on, how they would land to men. What are your thoughts on these potential questions to ask potential suitors? How do you see your role in a long-term relationship or marriage when it comes to providing or serving a family? I would actually X out this part. If you keep saying the word providing, it's going to sound very money focused, right? Like I said, there are buzzwords and trigger words that make you sound a certain way. Okay. The same thing for men. There's certain buzzwords or trigger words that they could say to you that will make you kind of go, what are you trying to say? So my advice to you is, ask this question void of that part. Just say, how do you see your role in a long-term relationship or a marriage? Like, what do you think your day-to-day would be? What do you like? How would you want your day to go? Like, always try and ask the question of, what do you want? What do you want for a marriage? What do you want for a long-term relationship? What would be ideal for you? What would be your perfect world? Like a perfect day for you in the life of being a married man? Way better way to get that answer, and you'll get the same answer. What does being a provider mean to you? If anything, no, don't ask this. This is it's an icky question. It just sounds weird. It doesn't come across the way that you're gonna want it to come across. When you imagine being married and having kids, do you want your wife to work full time, or would you want to give her the option not to? I would say this is not a bad question to ask, right? I would even say, if you want to structure this a little bit differently, say, when you're married and you have kids, like, what do you think the schedule would be? Like, you guys both go to work, or would it be more ideal for one of you to not be working or go to work at different times? And just kind of spew all the different options out there, right? Like that, you kind of want to structure the question to just make it seem like, I just want to know what the day-to-day is ideal for you, right? I know not every man feels this way, but I feel safest with someone who takes joy in leading, giving, and being generous. Does that resonate with you? Once again, these words, giving and being generous, even though they're not meant to be strange or weird questions or statements, when you put them in a way like this, and then you've been talking about things like providing and all that other stuff beforehand, it just doesn't send the right message. Especially too, if you have to also think, as conversation is going on, you're going to touch different topics. So if all of your topics that you touch on are about giving and being generous, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing for a man to be doing. I'm saying that when he hears that constantly, if he's an intelligent man, he's going to be hearing, oh, she's really focused on the money part. She's really focused on, whether or not I'm going to pay for this and whether or not I'm going to pay for that, right? The reason I say that is because when you're a man with money, you already know when you go into a relationship, you're going to be providing, you're going to be doing the things that you need to know. That's like a given. But when you hear a woman so heavily focused on that part, and not talking more about the connection, not talking more about the relationship, not talking more about the romance or the ideas or the ways you cultivate romance, build it with one another, keep it consistent, right? And those type of strategies, that becomes concerning to me as a man with money, because then I start to believe, okay, you actually don't care about the romance or the connection. You care about the providing part, which will then worry me in turn, because then I'll start to think, well, you're not really here for the connection or the romance, right? You're not even really here for me. You're here for the fact that I can be generous and give you this and give you that, right? So once again, it's not really going to send the right message. And the guys who do have money will probably shy away from that. Just remember, the same way you would probably, if you were, a super beautiful woman, you'd probably be a little bit more sensitive to guys who are lusting over you, because you know what it feels like, because you get it a lot. Guys with money, they're driving around, they have a nice car, they got a Rolex on, right? They're very sensitive to women being focused on their money. and thinking about how to access their money. So certain things you'll say can trigger that, and they'll be like, oh, she's one of those. They might still talk to you even after realizing that, but then they'll treat you differently, right? They won't be as open and honest with you. They won't, open their heart and their spirit to you because they'll feel it's transactional, right? Also, I was thinking about some things I can potentially tell suitors casually to see their body's language/face language, and would love to know how they might land. I really admire men who take pride in providing. It says a lot about their heart and how they lead. No, you do not impress on people what you want them to be. Ask them what they want to be, what they believe they should be, and then gauge your compatibility from their beliefs, okay? Not from what you think they should be doing. I believe generosity can't be faked, and either a man has that spirit or he doesn't. Once again, no point in saying that. You will get that answer from asking him questions about himself. Impressing onto him what he needs to be doing as a man is pointless. Better for you to ask him, you'll get the answer anyways. I'm attracted to men who are protective and stable and make me feel safe to be soft and open. That's not a bad one. I think getting the answer by asking the questions about himself and his own desires will get you there quicker and easier. My dream is to be able to raise kids without having to juggle a full-time job, and that requires the right partnership. Well, does he want that same thing? It's great that these are things that you know that you want, but if he doesn't want that same thing, when you say this, let's say hypothetically you said this and he's like, my wife should be working as well. What are you going to say? Are you going to have a debate? Better not. There's no point really, right? Ask him what he wants, and then you know what aligns with you, and then go from there, right? So that's what I would say about all of these, right? Is it should always be focused on his own desires, his own ideal situation, and then you gauge, is your ideal situation in line with my own ideal situation? If it's not, then no need for us to go on a second date. No need for us to have a second conversation. And then afterwards, you could just make something up. Oh, I wasn't feeling it. It wasn't a vibe, whatever the case. Just make something up if it doesn't work for you, right? Someone said gold digger is just that easily identifiable. I'm telling you, chat, like I say, the same way you can be sensitive to guys who are lusting over you and just want to use you to sleep with you, guys with money get sensitive to women who are just using them for money, right? So when you start talking a certain way, even if that's not your intention, it's going to start giving off the vibe that you just want for the money, just want to be with them for the money, which you won't get. The man might either dog you. He might just treat the relationship as transactional, or he just might stop talking to you overall, right? Or he might see what I can get from you without actually giving you anything. How to be detached. Bro, I like him so much. He does everything right, and I have been following all of your advice, Tomisin. He treats me right in everything. I don't tell him what I want in a relationship or anything. We just get along so well. I'm screwed. Why are you screwed? Why is your name Vape God? Why are you screwed? You're not screwed. This is good. He's treating you well. Keep on the right path. You're doing well. There's nothing wrong. Well, so far at least, nothing wrong. Nothing. I know it's scary when things are going well, but you have to accept things might go well. You might actually have a good man. There's nothing wrong with that. How do you punish a man? Don't. That message was deleted. We'll do this one. How do you say this name? It's a long one. Zenelia. Dragged into their breakup drama, and I never even dated him. Interesting. Hi, Tomisin. I really appreciate your insight on a situation that's gotten way out of hand. A while ago, I worked at a restaurant where the owner, let's call him Jake, and I had a quiet, subtle connection. We never dated, barely spoke, but there was unspoken interest. And I could tell his family and people around us noticed and encouraged it. But before anything ever happened, he started dating someone else, Sophie, and I respectfully stepped away. I never interfered with their relationship. After they broke up, Sophie began obviously copying me. Interesting. Trying to get information about me through mutual connections and spreading rumors. Her behavior has escalated. She's turned the people I thought were my friends against me, and even people she knows through her new boyfriend have started mocking me online in subtle, coordinated ways. Despite being in a new relationship, she seems fixated on competing with or undermining me. To make things more confusing, Jake is also seeing someone new now. Huh? Yet despite that, he told me he had nothing to do with I think he meant to say he wants nothing to do with Sophie anymore and acted confused about her behavior. But then he tricked me into participating in a creative shoot by hiding the fact one of Sophie's close friends would be involved. I only found out when I showed up. It felt like a setup, like I was being tested or provoked. It crossed the boundary, especially after I had already distanced myself from the whole situation. I left the job restaurant and started a fresh new somewhere else. But I've noticed odd comments and subtle behavior at my new job. How is that possible? Which makes me think Jake may still have an influence or isn't as uninvolved as he claims. You're thinking that all of this has followed you to your new job? Where, what? With people that don't know any of these past people? What? I've kept my head down, focusing and healing. I've been going to the gym, reading, walking in nature, cutting ties with anyone connected to this drama. I've never retaliated or spoken negatively about them, but emotionally, it's been exhausting. I feel watched, misrepresented, and judged in social places where I once felt safe. Okay. At first, these things were sounding very, like your experience. I'm concerned though, this might be turning into a bit of a, I hate to say it, Zanila, a delusion, because where are the people that are judging you? I'm not, trying to invalidate your experience, but you're not working with any of these people anymore. And from my understanding, you left the job at his restaurant and started fresh somewhere else. How would any of this be following you to the new place? You also said you stopped getting into any drama with anyone who's related to that drama. So we're starting to inch towards, this is becoming a bit of a delusion here where you're thinking that like everyone's after you. I'm not sure where you're getting this from. No one will tell me the truth about what's happening. And I don't understand why Sophie, who's moved on and is dating someone new, is still so fixated on me. But what? And I don't understand why Jake keeps involving me indirectly while staying completely silent. I thought, though, that you said that you're cutting ties with anyone connected to this drama. So wouldn't that include Jake? And wouldn't that include Sophie? Why haven't you blocked them? Why are you okay, let's break this down. If you're not working there anymore, you're not seeing any of them or anybody connected to the situation. If you block Sophie and block Jake, when are you ever going to see them or speak to them to even be able to see that they're fixated on you? You're not going to know what Sophie's doing. You're not going to know how she's dressed. You're not going to know where she's going. You're not going to see any information about Jake either. So where are you getting this information that he's fixated on you? Are you watching them? Are you watching their profiles? If that's the case, you're not disconnecting yourself from the drama if you're watching their social media. Okay. And once again, how is Jake involving you in things when you don't even work with him anymore? My question is, how should I proceed when dragged into drama between a man I never dated and his ex? Block both of them. You don't work with any of them before. Am I confused? I left the job at his restaurant and started fresh somewhere else. Block both of them. You don't work with any of them. Who is obsessively fixated on me, spreading rumors, turning mutuals against me, and trying to provoke me online and in real life through her social circle, while he stays silent and continues involving me in projects indirectly. You just block them. You're not working with them anymore. He even tricked me into a creative shoot by, we reread that part. He's now seeing someone new, and so is she, but the tension and surveillance continues. How? I've stayed quiet, walked away from their spaces, and focused on myself, but I still feel like I'm being targeted. What's the best way to cut energetic ties and reclaim peace without looking like I'm running or retaliating? Just block them. Just literally just block them. You don't work with them. You don't see them anymore. Just block them. Poof, they're gone. And on another note, this isn't the first time I've dealt with this kind of energy. Throughout my life, I've noticed a pattern where women, even the ones I considered friends, end up acting jealous or insecure around me. It's been hard to keep healthy female friendships because resentment builds over time, often because of the attention I naturally attract. Some stop inviting me out because they feel they've overshadowed me or are less desirable when we're around men, and that distance slowly turns into bitterness. I know people often encourage us to find sisterhood, but for me, it's been really difficult to find women who celebrate me without feeling threatened. And while I've heard your advice about going out, smiling, and being open to new connections, especially romantically, the truth is that doing that alone as a woman can feel really scary. Being out there on your own makes you vulnerable. And it's hard to feel confident and open up when you have to be cautious about your safety, your image, and the kind of attention you're receiving. I want to be approachable, but I also want to feel protected and supported. And right now, I just don't. P.S. I would love for you to make a video on how to navigate female jealousy and sabotage in the context of romantic relationships, especially when you're not even competing, but still become the target. Please give me advice that isn't just along the lines of ignore these people, because it has only gotten worse with time, and I like to fight back or at least stand up for myself. Why do you think I keep experiencing these reoccurring patterns with women? Thank you for everything you do for us, Tommy. Zenelia. Zenelia. Unfortunately, my advice is to ignore them, because you have to understand too. This is life advice as much as it is relationship advice. Energy goes where energy flows. People can only bother you and affect you if you give them energy. The longer you focus on what other people are doing, the less energy you have for yourself to be doing whatever you need to be doing. And so if you were still in the workplace, the same workplace with the Jake guy and all these other people, then I would say, okay, let's build a strategy for you to kind of like do this without having them in your life. But you don't work at that restaurant anymore. You're somewhere else totally. So there's no, what advice am I supposed to give you to fight back? Oh, go to their house, yell at them, stand outside of their door, go to your old job restaurant and cause a scene. Send them angry messages on Instagram, on Facebook, on Snapchat. Post about them on TikTok and talk about your experience with them and how they follow you around. What is any of that supposed to do for you, especially as it relates to getting them out of your life and not having the drama consistently follow you? Any advice I would give you in that sense would literally be having the opposite effect of the desired outcome that you're asking me for, which is to get them out of your life and get the drama away from you so that you can focus on building good relationships with both men and women. So the only real advice I can give you if you want to get away from them is to help you ignore them, not to do things to oh, I'm going to say this to them. Oh, I'm going to give them a piece of my mind by saying this and texting that and talking to these people and it's just going to cause a web of more drama. Right? So that's what I'm trying to explain to you. It's not that I don't want to give you sound advice, but the sound advice I'll give you for your desired outcome has to consist of give this situation less energy. You've already moved from the restaurant, which is a great start, right? Now you don't have to see them every single day. So go ahead and block them on everything. Block not just them, block all the people associated to them, block the mutual friends if you need to block the mutual friends, block anyone that would post them up that you know as well, right? Block everyone so that you can completely move forward in your life without having to worry about any of them stalking you, viewing your profile. If you ever get to private your profile on Instagram and on Snapchat and everywhere and every other place, right? Private your profile. Then if you ever notice anyone weird is watching your story, anything like anyone weird is lurking you, what you're doing, block that account. If you notice a no profile picture is watching your account after your account is private, block that account. If you see a request from an account that looks unfamiliar to you, don't accept that request. You see, like, when you start, like, if you really want to, like, get these people out of your life, there's ways to do that. It's not, and I'm not saying you don't stand up for yourself, but if you're talking about, like, moving forward, the best way to move forward is to clear them out of your life, right? Standing up for yourself in this scenario that you're talking about is only an ego thing. What you're saying here is just about ego. Oh, I want to give them a piece of my mind. It's just ego, right? Because at the end of the day, what are you going to say? Anything that like, hypothetically, if you were to give them a piece of your mind and stand up for yourself, you tell them off, you go to the restaurant, you send them a long message, whatever it is that you say, right? And you're like, oh, you've been following me, you've been doing weird stuff, you've been watching me. You tell the Sophie girl, oh, you've been copying me, you've been spreading rumors. And what do you think they're going to say? Do you think the response is going to be, Zenelia, You're so 100% right. I've been copying you this whole time. Do you think the Sophie girl's gonna say, Zanilia, I've been copying everything you do. I'm completely obsessed with you. I want to be you. I want to sniff your hair. I cut off pieces of your hair while you're working, and I put them on my dresser and I worship them. I have a doll at home that I worship. It's just like you, and I pray to it every night because I just want to be just like you when I grow up, and I want to be in your body, and I want to wear your clothes. Do you think that that's what she's going to admit to you and tell you? Do you think that the Jake guy is going to say, well, just to be honest with you, I've always wanted you and I've always wanted to be with you. So the drama comes from the fact that I'm so in love with you and I've never been in love with so. Is that what you think is going to happen? What's most likely going to happen is anything you address, they're just going to defend themselves. They're going to make excuses and they're going to deny everything, every claim that you're making. So where will you actually get from addressing any of these people? Nowhere. You also don't work with them, so none of it matters anyways. Whether they believe you, whether they don't believe you, whether they accept or deny your claims, you're going to go back to your job, they're going to go back to theirs, and you won't see them anyways. You guys always hear, I want to be in your brain. You guys always hear me say things like desired outcome. What is your desired outcome? In this scenario, you address them. What's going to come from that? Nothing. Like, let's be real. These people, even if all of the stuff you were saying is true, the likeliness that they'll just admit to it and say, yeah, you're 100% right, we apologize, slim to none. So let's figure out a way for you to have happiness without worrying about whether or not these people are going to apologize to you, because chances are they're not going to, okay? Or admit to anything they've been doing, chances are they won't. Now, as it relates to meeting new girls and dealing with jealousy and things like that, right? I would say the best place to start by going somewhere you enjoy as well. If you go somewhere you enjoy, then you can bond with a girl over at least some shared interests and build friendships that way, right? And from there, you can build on those friendships from that initial meeting, whether it's you go on a group hike, you go to a class, you start attending a cycling class. For you as a woman, it's actually not hard to meet women. I would probably say it's actually pretty easy for you. You could just go to a yoga class, go to hot yoga, any type of yoga. Okay, you'll meet lots of women there. Women your age. Oh, chat, I'm so silly. I'm such a silly Billy. Zanilia, how old are you? How old are you? You didn't say here. Zanilia, I'm assuming you're in your, 20s to maybe your 30s, right? Perfect. I'm going to tell you right now, this is exactly where you go. Search up on TikTok whatever the major city is that's close to you, right? Type in your major city. And then click, and then after that, say Pilates, okay? You go to a Pilates class in your city or in the close major city to you. I can assure you, I guarantee you, okay? You will meet girls your age, right, who are interesting, pretty, and you'll make some friends there. Go to a Pilates. I promise you. You know the ones they're all posting, right? Got the moving things, the strings, all that other stuff, right? And there's beginners Pilates. It doesn't have to be super advanced. I know some of the girls, they look like they're doing the super advanced stuff. Go to a Pilates class, okay? Could even be a beginner's class. I promise you. You go to a Pilates class, 3 weeks, okay? 3 weeks. I promise you, you'll make some girlfriends. So easy. Easiest thing for you to do. And like I said, Pilates isn't super hard. You'll meet some girlfriends that way, and you can build your relationships that way. I 100% assure you, okay? I might even go to a Pilates class just to experience it. That's run clubs and Pilates class. I know run clubs a little bit more intimidating. Pilates class, I promise you, you'll make lots of friends there, okay? Someone says you have Tomisin tattoo Pandora. What? I don't have no tattoos. All right, chat. That's the show for today. For those of you who have a question for me, feel free to ask it, whether it be in our free section, our private section, or our premium section. If you guys want to follow me on Instagram, my Instagram is in my link in my bio, right? You can follow me on Instagram there. For those of you who are wondering when I'm on again live, I'm on again live every Monday and Thursday, so I'm going to be on again next week on Monday, okay? Sorry for coming so late. Damn! It's 10:54 p.m. for my time. It's almost 11. This is the latest I've ever been on live. This is like a late night live. Yo, chat, we might have to have anyways, good to see you all today. I made sure to fight and get on this live stream. I'll see you guys on Monday, all right? Yeah, I won't say anything more. I'll see you guys on Monday at hopefully 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until we meet again, I bid you adieu. Sayonara, hasta la vista, ciao, salam, arrivederci, au revoir, adios, bounty. Say arrivederci, all right? Bon voyage! And I'll see you again on Monday, okay? Hopefully at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I love you guys so much. This is really a late night for me. Damn, some of y'all watching me lady. What you doing watching me? You in bed watching me? You weird. All right, good night. Have a good night. Yeah, have a good night.